A gentle breeze billows the curtains as morning light streams through a window. A man with dark hair awakens in a sunlit room, his expression weary. His red eye snaps open in sudden, dawning shock. Looking out at a sprawling fantasy city, he begins to question his reality. The staggering realization hits him. He's been transported inside the game he was just playing. The game is revealed to be Heroic Legend of Arhan. He recalls the game's epic scale, with powerful sorcerers battling monstrous creatures under crimson skies. The world was filled with endless incidents and colossal, destructive beasts. It was a grand story that even included a terrifying, world-ending apocalypse with hordes of undead. But he smiles cheerfully, confident that the game's main character will handle everything. He reveals his identity as Corinlock, a mere level 1 NPC from the beginner quest. Corinlock walks through the village, believing that if the story progresses as it should, all will be well. Humming to himself, he decides to find the game's main character, Park Sihu. While searching, he finds a man in a dark uniform, muttering anxiously about wanting Sprite and sweet potatoes. Corinlock is bewildered, realizing that Sprite doesn't exist in this game and questioning who this person is. The uniformed man declares he will live for efficiency and his own sake, his eye glowing with a dark power. Thwack! Corinlock suddenly grabs the man's hand, stopping his frantic muttering. They lock eyes in shared astonishment as the man, Park Sihu, realizes Corinlock is also a person from another world. A flashback shows Park Sihu in a ferocious battle, unleashing a powerful attack on a shrieking dragon. Quack! Standing over the slain beast, the narration explains that Park Sihu possesses a special privilege as a player character. He has a stat window, but there's a problem. Park Sihu has never actually played this game before and is utterly confused. Corinlock recalls coaching the clueless Park Sihu, advising him on stats for a mage build and reminding him of a crucial skill book. Confidently, Corinlock tells Park Sihu to trust him, as he is a pro at this game. He smirks, knowing his expertise is an incredible advantage for the new player. Bark as Corinlock laughs. A vicious, shadowy hound lunges toward them. Their moment of confidence shatters as they both react in alarm to the sudden attack. The scene shifts with a rush of motion. As a dark silhouette of the beast looms, Corinlock prepares to cast a spell from a purple magic circle. Ominous purple chains suddenly materialize and wrap around his body. In a surprising turn, Park Sihu is now the one bound by the chains, but he looks back with a smirk and asks Corinlock if he's okay. Their partnership is forged. Corinlock provides the game knowledge, while Park Sihu utilizes his player system to fight. Park Sihu channels dark energy, chains swirling around him as he prepares for battle. Corinlock leaps into the air, bringing a glowing sword down for a decisive blow. The blade connects with a brilliant flash of light. Victorious, the two rest on a pile of slain monsters at sunset, contemplating the future they can build. Corinlock offers Park Sihu an elixir, who is surprised he found such a valuable item. Looking at the potion, Corinlock admits there is one thing that disappoints him. He remembers their party, a formidable but rough-looking group of male warriors. This was a stark contrast to the diverse and beautiful heroines available in the game's dating simulator. Park Sihu, however, had focused solely on efficiency, avoiding romantic entanglements. Ha! Corinlock sighs in frustration, wondering why their party had to be composed entirely of sweaty guys. He recalls how the plot began to deviate, starting with the unexpected death of the Sword Emperor's granddaughter. Then, the first stage's final boss, a girl named Mariette, mysteriously went missing. A cascade of mysterious murders and disappearances followed, derailing the game's original story completely. Corinlock reflects on Park Sihu's unique way of thinking that caused these changes. He understood that it was simply Park Sihu's pragmatic personality at work. Corinlock holds a strange potion with a vampiric grin, a sinister glint in his eye. Later, in a dark, unfamiliar place, he stares in shock, wondering what he has discovered. He has found a hidden piece, the legendary staff belonging to the missing Mariette Dunalef. Corinlock explains he followed Park Sihu after seeing him sneak out, shocked to discover this hidden underground area. He realizes Park Sihu has been storing all the missing items in his inventory. Even the Odachi, a hidden piece belonging to the disappeared heroine Alicia, is here. Corinlock's eyes widen in horror as he finds himself inexplicably bound in chains. He discovers the source of the elixir, Mariette, suspended and chained within a crimson chamber. Mariette floats unconscious, her life force seemingly being drained away. Startled, Corinlock turns to see Park Sihu standing at the end of the hall. Park Sihu, wearing a mask, grimly asks why Cornlock is here. Cornlock confronts him about Marriott, but Park Si-hoo coldly dismisses her as a demon. He questions the logic of wasting an elder-class vampire's blood. Standing by a strange machine, Park Si-hoo smirks, claiming he is just using her efficiently. Cornlock is horrified by Park Si-hoo's thought. He too drank that same blood. He remembers drinking the potion Park Si-hoo gave him, oblivious to its true nature. The sickening realization of what he consumed washes over him. Park Si-hoo questions his reaction, but Cornlock cries out about the effort he spent to capture her. Overcome with rage and betrayal, Cornlock demands to know why. Park Si-hoo explains it was for efficiency, calling Cornlock's heroic methods too frustrating. He lists Cornlock's compassionate choices as flaws, preferring ruthless manipulation for better results. Declaring his way superior, Park Si-hoo tells Cornlock to listen to him. Crushed, Cornlock realizes Park Si-hoo is no newbie and wonders how many times he's done this. Park Si-hoo's internal thought reveals a chilling number, 100,000. Cornlock's face contorts with absolute fury. He lunges, grabbing Park Si-hoo and calling him a monster, but is reminded they're just NPCs. Cornlock screams that his targets were irredeemable villains who were trying to end the world. He questions Park Si-hoo's supposed efficiency, pointing out his illogical choices with items and potions. He accuses Park Si-hoo of creating this elaborate blood farm for a different, twisted reason. Cornlock screams that Park Si-hoo simply wanted a plaything for his sociopathic tendencies. For the first time, Park Si-hoo seems genuinely shocked by the accusation. He retaliates with a vicious kick, sending Cornlock flying. Spitting blood, Cornlock mutters that his companion's behavior is driving him insane. He laments that after everything he has done, he doesn't deserve this treatment. Park Si-hoo's demeanor shifts to obsessive rage, screaming that he should be Cornlock's entire world. His eyes glow ominously as he vows to stop him. Cornlock is left completely bewildered by Park Si-hoo's unhinged declaration. He comically panics, yelling that this isn't the character he knows, and questioning the sudden genre shift. Park Si-hoo calmly explains he removed all obstacles for the sake of their shared future. He menacingly reveals the real reason Cornlock was the only man he allowed in their party. With glowing eyes, he dismisses the other men as mere decoration. Kuah. Snapping from the horrifying revelation, Cornlock lands a powerful punch. He immediately flees in terror, screaming about how scary Park Si-hoo has become. Park Si-hoo takes a step, and tendrils of dark magic erupt from the ground. The purple energy snakes around his leg, preparing to strike. The tendrils lash out, instantly wrapping around the fleeing Cornlock. They tighten around his body, constricting him. Bound and helpless, Cornlock screams that this isn't what he wanted. Kneeling before him, Park Si-hoo declares that Cornlock can't escape and will be trapped forever. A dark, shadowy aura surrounds Park Si-hoo as he looms over Cornlock and claims him. Bound in magical chains, Cornlock hears Park Si-hoo's voice. In this fake world, he's the only real thing. He screams in utter terror at the insane possessiveness of his companion. Wielding a massive magic circle, Park Si-hoo calmly promises everything will be over soon. With a chilling smile, he declares that after this fight, they will be together forever. Cornlock questions if he's in a plane created by Park Si-hoo as a notification announces the last stage is opening. Floating in an endless void, he believes Park Si-hoo will defeat the final boss, as he's always done everything alone. He curses, knowing that once Park Si-hoo wins, his own existence will be threatened. He continues to drift helplessly through the dark, churning expanse. Flutter. The scene shifts as sunlight streams past a curtain. Cornlock awakens with a gasp, his eyes wide with shock. Thump. He jolts upright in bed, bewildered. Staring out at the familiar fantasy city, he understands with dawning horror that he has regressed to the past. He looks down at his own hands, confirming he is real and back at the beginning. Squeeze. He clenches his fists with newfound determination. A single tear falls as he accepts his new reality, his expression hardening. The story's title appears over a complex magical seal. A new chapter begins with the Rotion River flooding incident, as water crashes violently. In a flashback, thousands of people and monsters drown as Park Si-hoo stands amidst the chaos. Park Si-hoo grins with manic glee, finding the horrific spectacle awesome. Cornlock recalls this moment, horrified by his companion's psychopathic reaction. He remembers how Park Si-hoo saw the deaths only as a chance to monopolize experience points. Korenlok reflects on Park Si-hoo's kill count nearing 100,000, labeling him a devil. Now in the past, he runs, vowing that he can stop him this time. He approaches a sign for the city of Merkaba. A hooded Park Si-hoo stands ominously, his red eyes glowing with a sinister smirk. Racing through the forest, Korenlok knows Park Si-hoo isn't a monster yet but will become one at the academy. He spots a cluster of mushrooms, a key item from the start of the game. Crack. He swiftly plucks and crushes the mushrooms in his hand. With grim purpose, he continues his desperate sprint. A tutorial quest appears. Protect a broken-down carriage on its way to Merkaba City. The scene settles on a tranquil, moonlit forest landscape. A knight named Leon wipes his blade clean as his companion, a knight named Laura, praises their skilled new ally. The ally is revealed to be a winking Park Si-hoo, now dressed in modern clothes. A coachman joyfully announces that the carriage is fixed, calling for Leon and Laura. As the group prepares to leave, Park Si-hoo yawns, eager to get some sleep. Kuog. A horrifying scream suddenly echoes from the darkness, startling Leon and Laura. A massive pointed rock is launched from the woods, hurtling toward them. Get out of the way. Laura shoves Leon aside just in time. Crash! The rock slams into the ground, shattering the earth where Leon just stood. Leon cries out Laura's name as she responds, both drawing their swords for battle. A hulking rank 2 werewolf emerges from the shadows, its identity confirmed. Grower. The monster unleashes a deafening roar, radiating raw power. Hiding nearby, Korenlok curses, realizing he was too late to prevent the attack. Erg. In a blur of motion, the werewolf lands a devastating blow. The monster brutally mauls Laura as Leon screams her name in horror. Park Si-hoo urges a terrified Leon to get the civilians on the carriage while he buys time. He helps a child aboard the carriage, telling the passengers to flee while they still can. A woman protests, refusing to abandon Leon and run away. The werewolf grabs Park Si-hoo by the throat, lifting him effortlessly off the ground. Despite his predicament, Park Si-hoo calmly grips his sword, ready to counter. Watching from the foliage, Korenlok resolves to confirm if this version of Park Si-hoo is truly a hero. Park Si-hoo stands firm, dwarfed by the werewolf's menacing shadow. He smirks, remarking on the monster's immense size as it roars again. The werewolf lunges, its cavernous mouth filled with sharp teeth ready to devour him. A swordswoman with long hair leaps into the air, yelling for everyone to get down. She plunges her glowing sword directly into the werewolf's head with a powerful impact. She stares in disbelief, shocked that her powerful attack was completely stopped. She and Park Si-hoo move in sync, dodging and preparing to counterattack together. From the darkness, Korenlok watches the battle, dagger in hand, his face obscured by shadow. The influential party member and named character is formally introduced, Alicia Arden surrounded by a purple aura. Korenlok's thoughts reveal he was scared, realizing that a hidden Easter egg existed even in this tutorial episode. In a horrifying vision of a death event, a sinister Park Si-hoo stabs a shocked Alicia Arden from behind. A flash of blood-red energy signifies a fatal blow. Korenlok's eye glints with grim determination, recalling the terrible future. In the present, Alicia Arden asks Park Si-hoo why he's hesitating, confused by his actions. Her eyes glow blue as she grits her teeth in frustration at his apparent mistake. Park Si-hoo offers a disingenuous apology with a distorted smile, claiming his hand slipped from nervousness. Kua. The werewolf lets out a furious, pained roar, recovering from the initial attack. Alicia Arden watches in alarm as the werewolf lunges, its claws deflecting a clumsy strike. Korenlok realizes Park Si-hoo's plan. If Alicia Arden dies, he can obtain her unique weapon, the Odachi. Park Si-hoo's twisted logic is revealed. He intends to kill the named NPC to take her place in a better party. Pushing aside her frustration, Alicia Arden tells herself to calm down and focus on the fight. She concentrates her power, her blue eyes glowing with intense energy as she prepares a skill. A silhouette of Alicia Arden appears in a digital space, channeling immense blue power. Grower. The werewolf roars, now empowered with a burning red aura of its own. Alicia Arden is enveloped in a storm of brilliant blue energy as she prepares to strike. With a malevolent grin, Park Si-hoo declares he can't let that happen, revealing a glowing purple dagger. He throws the dagger, sending it hurtling directly into Alicia Arden's path. The dagger clatters harmlessly to the ground, having served its purpose as a distraction. "You," Alicia Arden shouts, turning to Park Si-hoo in utter disbelief at his interference. Her eyes narrow with dawning horror as she realizes his actions were a deliberate betrayal. The werewolf looms over the distracted Alicia Arden, its massive head descending for the kill. She attempts a desperate block, but the werewolf's attack easily shatters her defense. Blood splatters across the dark background. The beast's claws connect in a devastating, explosive impact. The werewolf brutally impales Alicia Arden, lifting her off the ground. Lying mortally wounded, Alicia Arden weakly asks Park Si-hoo why he betrayed her. With a triumphant, manic grin, Park Si-hoo announces he has acquired the Odachi. He inspects his new weapon, musing that he'll worry about its special skill requirement later. Park Si-hoo eyes the other fallen party members, coldly wondering if killing them will grant him experience points. He stands menacingly over Laura's lifeless body, his decision made. Silhouetted against a blood-red moon, Park Si-hoo lets out a chilling, satisfied smile. Suddenly, a burst of energy erupts behind him, catching him completely by surprise. Korenlok strains as a mysterious golden power surges through his body. His eye glows with an unfamiliar burning energy. Staring at his glowing hands, Korenlok wonders what is happening to him. Standing amid the carnage, Park Si-hoo angrily demands that the hidden person reveal themselves. A swarm of small, horned creatures bursts from the shadows, drawn by a mysterious scent. The creatures were attracted by topanic mushrooms, which are coated in a fragrant powder. Shit! Park Si-hoo realizes the crushed mushrooms have turned him into marinated meat for forest monsters. He desperately fights back as the horde of small monsters swarms him. Korenlok helps an injured Laura, expressing relief that she is still alive, while cursing the small fries. With a surge of strength, he pries open the jaws of a monstrous wolf. A blood-soaked Park Si-hoo glares at the unexpected savior, demanding to know who he is. Korenlok coldly taunts the defeated Park Si-hoo about the Odachi's effectiveness against the monsters. Park Si-hoo stares in utter shock, stammering as he recognizes his mysterious attacker. In disbelief, he finally says the name aloud, Korenlok. Korenlok stands silently in the shadows, his glowing red eyes promising a deadly confrontation. Park Si-hoo demands to know why he's there, while Korenlok internally wonders if the regression erased his memories. Smirking at this advantage, Korenlok decides to provoke him, pointing out his improper sword grip. A confused Park Si-hoo looks down at his hand, questioning the sudden critique. Korenlok exploits the opening, lunging forward to deliver a powerful punch. His fist smashes directly into Park Si-hoo's jaw with brutal force. Ack! Enraged, Park Si-hoo screams curses, vowing to kill him for the attack. He leaps forward with a clumsy but fast slash, which Korenlok notes is surprisingly quick. Realizing Park Si-hoo is physically superior, Korenlok resolves to push himself beyond his limits. Park Si-hoo brings the Odachi down in a powerful sweeping attack. Dodging narrowly, Korenlok taunts him with the nearness of his own blade, telling him to stay alert. Korenlok's voice echoes in his mind, demanding absolute focus on the fang-like dagger. He presses the dagger to Park Si-hoo's throat, forcing his complete attention on the weapon. With a sudden burst of strength, Korenlok overpowers his foe and slams him to the ground. Park Si-hoo's eyes widen in absolute terror as the dagger closes in on his neck. Korenlok raises his dagger, his eyes glinting as he prepares for the final, lethal strike. He thrusts the blade downward with grim and violent determination. Park Si-hoo screams as he desperately blocks the blow, the dagger piercing straight through his hand. Korenlok stands over him, his dagger pinning Park Si-hoo's hand firmly to the ground. A deep red gash appears across Park Si-hoo's neck as he winces from the pain. A violent spray of blood marks the brutal conclusion of their fight. The dagger is shown embedded deep in Park Si-hoo's trembling, bloody hand. He looms over the weeping Park Si-hoo, pinning his impaled hand down without mercy. In the bloody darkness, Korenlok begins to choke the life from his defeated enemy. Dark blood drips from the struggle, staining the forest floor. Holding Park Si-hoo by the throat, Korenlok coldly thanks him for being a stepping stone to greater power. He raises his dagger, one last time, over the fallen player's body. Huff, huff. Korenlok stands exhausted over the corpse of Park Si-hoo, whose eyes have spiraled into nothingness. Player Park Si-hoo is dead. The system recalculates the main scenario's odds, identifying variable Corin Lok as a potential backup. His initial status card appears, showing him as Corin Lok, a level 1 non-player character. His card suddenly upgrades, granting him the title Martial Master's successor and the new status of sub-player. Staring at his new title, Corin Lok wonders with excitement if this means he will finally get a stat window. He suddenly breaks into a fit of deep coughs, reacting to the sudden change. The scene shifts to Alicia Arden, still alive but gravely wounded and panting on the ground. Corin Lok rushes to her side, and while she weakly says she can't see, he's relieved she's strong enough to talk. He accurately lists her symptoms, deducing from her state that she's been afflicted with peacock tree frog's poison. He notes the poison was crudely mixed. If it had been any stronger, she would have died instantly. Relieved but knowing she's still in danger, he realizes he must stop the bleeding and detoxify her now. Worried she'll bite her tongue in pain, Corin Lok quickly searches for something to put in her mouth. He looks down at his own hand, a grim but practical solution coming to mind. He shoves his hand into her mouth, telling her to bite down on it. Preparing for the painful treatment, he tells her to bite as hard as she needs to, and to hold on. As he extracts the poisoned fang from her wound, he reflects on his bizarre return to the past and his killing of a player. While she bites down on his arm in agony, he focuses on the triumphant fact that he saved someone who was meant to die. Suddenly, two sharp sounds echo through the trees, signaling that they are no longer alone. Corin Lok reflects on saving Alicia Arden, deciding that for now, this single act is enough. The scene shifts to a pot, bubbling over a crackling campfire in the quiet forest. He tends to a simmering antidote, while a feverish Alicia Arden groans beside him. As she sleeps, Alicia Arden weakly calls him her savior, and he quietly reassures her. She stirs, faintly asking for his name as he prepares a compress. He gently places a cool cloth on her forehead, telling her she doesn't need to know his name. Urging her to rest, he decides it's better to keep his actions hidden from as many people as possible. Drawing a circle in the dirt, Corin Lok prepares to organize his thoughts and assess his new situation. He recalls the original story's path. The player would become a hero by solving incidents at the Merkaba Academy. This hero was destined to defeat countless villains and ultimately face a powerful final boss. He remembers that the devilish Park Si-hoo only followed this path because the world would end otherwise. With Park Si-hoo now dead, Corin Lok soberly wonders who will take on the role of the world's savior. His title as AAA Class Knight, Martial Master's successor, flashes as he resolves that he must be the one to do it. However, a barrage of system windows denies him permission to access any player functions. Frustrated, he laments that his sub-player status grants him none of the conveniences he had hoped for. Staring into the flames, he realizes he must use methods outside the system to grow stronger. After 3 years of relentless training, he declares himself far more than just an ordinary extra. He begins to draw a complex symbol on the ground with his finger. A surge of power swirls around him as he moves with fluid grace around the campfire. He smirks with satisfaction, thinking that his desperate plan to survive is working. The source of his power is revealed. Rune magic, ancient letters that hold their own magical abilities. He knows of the 3 commandments, runes that function as powerful laws governing strength and destruction. Pointing to his shoulder, Corin Lok begins to channel the first of these commandments, URGHK. He grunts in pain as the rune for duty burns itself onto his arm. This commandment grants the user additional power for honoring a self-imposed oath. However, because the oaths are easy to keep, the resulting stat gains are minimal. Huff. He decides to make a binding promise, vowing to never ignore the misfortunes of good people. An image of a heart constricted by chains symbolizes the binding nature of his vow. Touching his chest, Corin Lok prepares to invoke the second commandment, restraint. Erg. He winks again as he activates the second powerful rune on his body. A narration explains the world is filled with spiritual energy and astral beings like ghosts. These astral beings can only interact with others through mutual recognition, leaving the unaware untouched. Activating restraint grants him immunity to astral beings but increases damage taken from physical ones, with a severe penalty for disobedience. The 2 runes glow on his body, a constant reminder of the great risk he has undertaken. Surrounded by virtual system windows, Corin Lok smiles, ready to exploit his new abilities. With glowing runes across his chest, he fiercely declares his great ambition to save this world. The glowing chains tighten around the heart, signifying the immense burden of his oath. A terrifying vision shows the consequence of failure. He's consumed by red energy as the chains shatter him. The vision of his potential demise focuses on the glowing, restrictive chains. The scene shifts as Alicia Arden's blue eye flutters open. She awakens in a pristine hospital bed, completely bewildered by her surroundings. Ah! She clutches her side in pain as she sits up, startling a nearby nurse. Confused, she asks where she is, and the nurse calmly informs her she's in Merkaba City Emergency Hospital. Alicia frantically asks about her savior, shocked when the nurse says he already left, and tries to get up against the nurse's warnings. Panicked, she ignores the nurse's pleas and begins searching for her belongings. Her eyes land on a worn bag, and she wonders if her savior left it behind. She picks up the bag's strap, her expression hardening as she realizes it's stained with blood. With a look of grim determination, she urgently calls out for the nurse again. Startled by her intensity, the nurse timidly asks what she needs. Ignoring her own condition, Alicia Arden asks if there's anywhere that sells honey bomb candy, but the nurse tells her she's only allowed stew. The scene opens on the grand, imposing facade of an academy building. Arriving at the entrance, Corenlock searches his wallet for his student ID but finds something unexpected. He pulls out a mysterious letter, confused as he doesn't recall ever putting it there. Standing outside, he reads the letter from his mother, who expresses how proud she is of her son. Sighing, he wonders when she secretly put it in, reflecting on how the original Corenlock was seen as incompetent. He recalls first possessing this body and acting awkwardly around his new, loving family. A flashback shows his initial unease melting away as his new family grew to love him. Clasping his hands together, he smiles, determined to live up to the love they've shown him. The scene shifts to a vast, sunlit train station bustling with activity. A crowd of new students marvels at the sight of Merkaba Academy and its many trains. A cheerful young woman with blue hair greets the new students, asking them to gather. She approaches Corenlock, asking if he's a new student before remarking on his height as he introduces himself. With a bright smile, she offers him a potato as a welcome gift. Whoosh! A magical train car glides swiftly down the tracks, propelled by a glowing red energy. On board the train, she introduces herself as Mariette Dunalev while pointing out the creation building for magic students. Mariette, a popular second-year mage, gives a tour as narration foreshadows unpredictable tragedies in this world. Her friendly demeanor darkens as narration reveals a shocking truth. She is the first act's final boss. As students disembark, an attendant instructs them to each take one potato and one sweet potato. Mariette waves a cheerful goodbye from the side of the departing train. Inside a massive hall, Corenlock watches as a glowing magic circle on the floor begins activating space expansion magic. The students are suddenly teleported into a dark void, floating aimlessly as they question what's happening. Ack! A booming voice mocks the new cadets for being startled as they tumble chaotically through the darkness. Corenlock calmly recognizes the voice as Old Man Heyman's, noting his typical boot camp style. Narration explains that superhumans who used aura and mana were the most effective weapon against an ancient evil. A man with an afro and sunglasses introduces himself as Professor Fermac Damon, the Knight faculty professor in charge of the ceremony. Smirking at the familiar face, Corenlock listens as Fermac Damon addresses the aspiring knights and mages. Fermac Damon scoffs at their unearned confidence, declaring his intent to test their true abilities. The students are suddenly separated, each standing on their own glowing platform in the void. Corenlock looks at his stat window, unimpressed by his own appallingly low physical stats. Fermac Damon stands over a series of numbered platforms, ready to begin the assessment. Seeing a large A on a display, Corenlock smirks, realizing the 400-person cap puts him in the bottom 1%. With a menacing grin, Fermac Damon wishes all the students luck in the upcoming battle. In a flash of light, the students are teleported away from their designated platforms. Observing from a control room, a professor notes that this year's class has many diamonds in the rough. A woman with glasses and a large hat decides there's no need to test the top-ranked students yet. The second-ranked student is revealed to be the granddaughter of the sword genius Alicia Arden. Several other high-ranking students are shown, including Avalloans' druid, Yugal, and the mercenary of sword control, Dron Worski. The golem sorcerer, Crenel Lufin, is also identified as a notable student. Surrounded by a menacing red aura, a nun is introduced as the sole first-rank student. Her name is revealed to be Hoan, her red eyes gleaming with quiet intensity. The woman with glasses looks on with concern, questioning the director's decision to enroll Hwarin. TSK, a skeptical man suggests they just eliminate the incompetent 6th-rank students from the start. The woman in the large hat sharply rebukes him for questioning the director's will, causing him to flinch. The man nervously relents and, with a snap of his fingers, begins the test. A massive object shoots down from above, casting a beam of bright light onto the testing ground. Cornlock finds himself standing before a large weapon case, emblazoned with a sword. He looks up with a bored expression, remarking on the Academy's consistently unfriendly welcome. Casually approaching a row of weapon cases, Cornlock prepares to make his selection. He reaches for a handle, predicting that most students will thoughtlessly grab the first sword they see. Suddenly, 3 vicious, wolf-like shorthounds, identified as 5th-rank monsters, emerge to begin the test. Grrr! As the monsters approach, Cornlock concedes that swords are generally cool. He recalls an old saying about the immense time it takes to master different weapons, with the sword being the most difficult. With a confident glint in his eye, he decides on the obvious answer to this problem. Instead of a sword, he unleashes a sweeping attack with a polearm, catching the shorthounds by surprise. In a single fluid motion, he strikes the ground with incredible force. Grrr, a shorthound, disintegrates into digital particles as it's struck by the attack. The 2 remaining monsters pause, momentarily stunned by the sudden loss of their packmate. One of the surviving hounds gathers red energy in its mouth, preparing to fire a blast. The energy blasts miss their mark, exploding harmlessly on the ground behind a calm Cornlock. He smirks devilishly, declaring that he has way too much experience killing these specific monsters. Standing over the fading purple remains of a defeated hound, he holds his spear at the ready. Resting the spear on his shoulder with a smug grin, he confidently calls for the next wave. He waits impatiently, wondering why nothing is appearing and questioning if the system is broken. Elsewhere in the testing grounds, other students are shown panicking and screaming for help as they're mauled by the hounds. TSK. Watching the struggling students, the skeptical professor scoffs at their incompetence and boasts about his own record against first-rank monsters. He dismisses the 5th and 6th-rank students as not worth watching, only to be caught off guard by an anomaly. Cornlock's 6th-rank profile is displayed as he yawns, casually asking if the monsters failed to summon. Seeing more weak hounds materialize, Cornlock wonders why the next rank isn't coming out and why he's facing the same enemies again. The skeptical professor notes with surprise that the first student to pass the test took 7 minutes and 20 seconds. He looks on in confusion, wondering what the 5th and 6th-rank students are even doing. The other professor furiously questions why Cornlock is appearing again, shouting that the monster summoning must be malfunctioning. He asserts that Madame Josephine's test magic has been flawless for 20 years, concluding the monsters simply aren't being summoned for someone who should have failed. He leans in and aggressively asks his colleague if he actually saw the failure, causing the man to sweat and deny it. Back in the arena, Cornlock grows frustrated as the same ghostly hounds appear yet again. He yells in fury, demanding to know why he isn't being given a real challenge. As he unleashes his rage, a single hound begins to disintegrate from a powerful attack. The remaining 2 hounds are instantly enveloped in a brilliant, explosive light. The blast completely obliterates the monsters in a flash. The 2 professors stare at the monitor in utter disbelief, exclaiming over the new record, 7.3 seconds. The skeptical professor urgently tells his colleague to get Professor Fermac's attention. Fermac Damon asks what's going on, and he's asked for the fastest record among the 3rd and 4th ranks. He replies a kid named Jaeger got 3 minutes and 30 seconds. Well, the skeptical professor stammers nervously, trying to brush off the question as unimportant. Finally, a new challenge appears as a 4th-rank Matt Bohr materializes before Cornlock. KWAEK. The professor recoils in shock as the Bohr is instantly defeated in a record-breaking 3.7 seconds. KWOOOOAA, formidable 3rd-rank owlbear, is summoned next, letting out a deafening roar as it towers over Cornlock. KWAAA Cornlock deftly ducks under the owlbear's massive, swiping claw. He counters with a powerful upward strike from his polearm. KOO. The owlbear recoils as the blow lands squarely on its arm. Cornlock invokes a rune, Kanaz, causing a fiery symbol to appear on his weapon. The owlbear shrieks in agony as it's engulfed in a violent explosion of flames. The observing professors are shocked, identifying the powerful attack as rune magic. Vermectimem narrows his eyes, quietly processing the unexpected use of a rune. Kayak! As the beast burns, Cornlock shields his face from the intense heat. Noting the attack wasn't very effective, he leaps back, dodging a swipe from the still-burning owlbear. He plants his polearm firmly into the ground, preparing a much larger attack. The senior professor acknowledges that Cornlock is far from a mere 6th rank, lamenting that the test is limited to 3rd-rank monsters. His colleague excitedly agrees, saying a fun guy has finally appeared and he's eager to see him fight evil spirits next. The test concludes, and Cornlock stands alone with his spear, looking around the empty arena. A system window displays the penalty for his restraint rune, an inability to perceive or interfere with souls, ghosts, or spirits. With a slight smirk, he closes his eyes, ready to see if his plan to bypass the evil spirit test will work as expected. Standing alone in the void, Cornlock calmly counts to 60, waiting for his plan to unfold. He smirks, realizing his restraint rune has successfully activated, allowing him to bypass the next test. Having confirmed what he needed, he grabs a nearby pole and dramatically announces his intention to give up. From the control room, the senior professor watches in disbelief as a cheerful Cornlock formally withdraws from the test. The professor stares at the monitor, completely bewildered and wondering what kind of student Cornlock truly is. Back in a grand hall with the other students, Cornlock walks confidently among the crowd. Nearby students compare their results, with a 3rd-rank student boasting about defeating both an owlbear and a banshee. A muscular student with blonde hair and tattoos stands proudly as his name is displayed, Jaeger Hinchpeter. Cornlock watches Jaeger, recognizing him as the arrogant student who started a fight at the very beginning of the story. He recalls that in the past, a player named Park Sihu killed Jaeger in a fit of rage, thinking, what a lunatic. Overhearing others mock the low-ranked students, Cornlock listens as they question how anyone could lose to hounds and ghosts. Cornlock remembers a student with glasses who slandered him and Sihu, noting that he met the same tragic fate as Jaeger. A man with long silver hair and a 3rd eye marking begins an orientation speech, welcoming the students who came to get strong. As he speaks about their varying levels of potential, the camera focuses on the solemn, 1st-ranked nun, Hwaran. He advises the students to find their own path, as the academy only provides the first step. With a warm smile, the speaker concludes his speech, wishing all the students a good day. Students begin to disperse throughout the massive hall, gathering near signs indicating their new ranks. Jaeger proudly announces his status as a 3rd-rank knight before noticing a quiet student reading in the corner. Hey, he confronts the startled reader, demanding to know his rank. The student nervously replies that he's a 5th rank. Jaeger loudly mocks the student for his pathetic 5th rank placement, laughing at his failure against the ghosts and hounds. Cornlock suddenly wraps an arm around Jaeger's shoulders, cheerfully greeting him as Jaeger turns in confusion. He showers Jaeger with compliments about his tattoos, cleverly pointing out the blood-type tattoo meant for quick transfusions. Jaeger proudly explains his mother is a tattoo artist and gave him the old-school style tattoo. Cornlock asks if he has more tattoos, though his thoughts reveal he already knows everything about him. He remembers a past life where Jaeger's mother came to the academy after her son went missing. Cornlock recalls her tearfully explaining the tattoos were an act of a worried mother, not just for show. Whoa. Back in the present, Jaeger flexes to show off a flying chariot tattoo, as Cornlock feigns impressed surprise. Cornlock introduces himself, and Jaeger happily returns the introduction. Turning to the bullied student, Cornlock asks his name. He timidly introduces himself as Lark. Ha 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 ha. Cornlock and Jaeger share a laugh, while Lark sits dejectedly to the side. Ha. A young woman with a long ponytail watches the group from a distance with her hands clasped. She smiles warmly, thinking to herself how amazing the scene is. Cornlock smiles to himself, concluding that Jaeger seems like a genuinely good person this time around. He reflects on how he successfully made a good first impression on Lark, recalling his unique ability, Memorize. With a wicked grin, Cornlock thinks of Lark not as a friend, but as his free skill book. The scene shifts to the imposing exterior of Merkaba Academy, where most facilities are free for students. Of all the free facilities, the narration highlights the Academy's advanced training rooms as the most recommended. Inside a training room, Cornlock begins a grueling session, ready to attempt previously impossible feats. He practices his spear techniques against invisible spirit bodies, a training method far beyond his current limitations. Two upperclassmen notice him, surprised to see a first-year student attempting to practice with a spirit body. A female student with blue hair looks on as one of the upperclassmen remarks that even second years struggle with wind-type spirits. Cornlock is struck by an invisible force as the onlookers laugh at the first year's failed attempt. Huffing for breath, he wonders if he's overestimated his abilities, only to be interrupted by an approaching instructor. Huh? Cornlock greets the instructor, who asks why he's training with a spirit body. He replies it's to improve his spear skills. When the instructor questions his confidence, Cornlock looks him in the eye and declares, "I will do it." Internally, Cornlock panics, worried that the instructor's sudden appearance means something went wrong with his entrance exam. The stern-looking instructor scrutinizes Cornlock with an intense, unreadable expression. His serious demeanor suddenly breaks into a huge, beaming smile as he praises Cornlock's spirit and offers him 10 meal tickets. Ahahaha. The instructor tells him to come find him after he succeeds and laughs boisterously, leaving a stunned Cornlock behind. Cornlock breathes a sigh of relief, realizing the man simply shows affection with food and that this is a good omen. A student with blue hair announces they're starting again, as a silent Cornlock prepares. Cornlock launches into a spinning attack, surrounded by streaks of light and blue energy. The blue energy he's wielding coalesces into the shape of a blazing phoenix. The spirit's attack slams into Cornlock's stomach, knocking the wind out of him. He is sent flying backward, crashing hard onto the training room floor. Looking down at the defeated Cornlock, she offers him a glass of milk as he admits his exhaustion. She creates water in the glass with magic, telling him he can rest now after working hard. She tries to encourage him, saying he'll get the hang of it and can just try again next time. He rejects the drink, stating he doesn't have it next time, and recalling a time 3 years ago. In a flashback, he remembers when Park Si-hoo existed, and they had access to player stats and items. Back in the present, a pensive Cornlock sits on the floor, holding the glass of water. He finally thanks her, surprising her, as she replies that he can always give up later. Cornlock gets to his feet with renewed determination, grabbing his polearm. He readies his stance against the spirit phoenix, deciding he must first figure out his limits. He acknowledges his plan is excessive, but resolves to test the full extent of his past abilities. A vision of his past self flashes, showcasing the ominous serpentis vitae and swirling leggett techniques. The memories continue, displaying techniques like black tortoise breathing, counterattack, and dragon incarnate energy. A final memory shows the dragon scale force manipulation technique as his spear glows. He recalls having no great power or strong body, realizing his knowledge of the future was useless. He remembers that his only path to survival was to work harder than anyone else. A fierce red aura envelops Cornlock as he prepares to unleash his true strength. Ominous serpent righteousness. He unleashes a blindingly fast, powerful red strike with his weapon. He hurls his spear, which flies through the air wrapped in a whirlwind of blue energy. The student watches in confusion, wondering if he's giving up by simply throwing his spear. Suddenly, a hand grips the spear in mid-flight, stopping it cold. Her eyes widen in shock as she realizes he didn't just throw the spear, he shot it. Having moved faster than sight, Cornlock catches his own spear mid-air, hurtling towards the spirit. He unleashes the slithering serpent technique, spinning with immense force. The attack connects with the spirit, causing a massive, violent explosion of energy. A brilliant sphere of pure blue energy forms at the point of impact. The onlooking student braces against the powerful shockwave from the attack. She thinks to herself that simple words like strong or outstanding fail to describe him. Whoa. Her eye reflects the dazzling light as she stares in complete awe. Cornlock stands victorious within the brilliant, dissipating energy. He suddenly plummets from the air, crashing hard onto the floor and startling her into asking if he's okay. Twitching on the ground, he wryly admits to himself that he was being excessive. He acknowledges the limitations of his current body as his spear lies nearby. The next day, the scene shifts to the imposing exterior of the academy building. The blue-haired student cheerfully greets the new first years, offering to give them a tour of the school facilities. While she talks, Cornlock eats a potato, thinking his top priority is to strengthen his body. As the tour continues, he concludes there is only one way to improve without Park Si-hoo's elixirs. With a determined smirk, Cornlock decides he must seek out the commandments. The focus shifts to Lark reading a book embodying a commandment: don't turn a blind eye to others' misfortunes. Cornlock suddenly wraps an arm around a surprised Lark, calling him friend and offering to get food. Leaning in close, he whispers about discussing grimoires, leaving Lark completely stunned. A beautifully ornate, glowing grimoire is displayed in all its glory. The vast, multi-storied Merkaba Academy Library is revealed, built to preserve humanity's knowledge. As Cornlock and Lark walk through the library, the narration reveals its true purpose: to hide the grimoires. Cornlock explains the concept of hiding a tree in a forest, and a flustered Lark just tells him to keep his promise. Cornlock explains that fulfilling a grimoire's conditions grants its traits, noting Lark's reputation as a model student. He considers how numerous spells are useless for a magician with low levels in mana. As Lark stares at several joke books on the floor, the narration concludes that great theory means nothing without power. However, with a grimoire, everything changes as Cornlock's hand reaches for a specific book. Whoosh! Lark shouts in annoyance as he dodges a massive book titled Moment of Realization that flies past him. Cornlock stands with his hands on his hips and yells, "Wake up!" at a stunned Lark. He leads the way into a hidden passage behind a bookshelf, telling a hesitant Lark to follow him in. Now deep inside a long, dark corridor, Lark nervously admits that the place is eerie. Cornlock extends his bandaged hand, ready to begin, as Lark reminds him to keep his promise. Firmly grasping Cornlock's hand, Lark confirms his purpose is to help repel evil spirits. Hiya! As Lark asks what he needs to do, Cornlock suddenly slams his forehead into Lark's, knocking him unconscious. Surrounded by a sinister red aura, Cornlock looms over the fallen Lark and declares it's time to begin. He kneels beside Lark's body, revealing his true motive. Helping Lark is secondary to completing a special quest. Cornlock's determined eye narrows as he acknowledges the true challenge ahead. A massive, terrifying evil spirit with glowing red eyes materializes, identified as the Sabancia Duke. Crouching before the immense spirit, Cornlock recognizes that this quest is designed to be impossible. He ponders the difficulty of capturing not just an evil spirit, but a special one. The Sabancia Duke unleashes a barrage of swirling, dark purple energy attacks. A blinding flash of red light erupts from the spirit's attack. The narration explains this is the attack of a duke from 800 years ago, and most players die instantly. As the devastating purple energy blasts toward him, Cornlock stands his ground. The attacks phase harmlessly through his body, as he calmly states that he, however, did not die. Suddenly, a masked figure appears, unleashing its own volley of red energy strikes. The Duke's attacks miss Cornlock entirely, striking the ground around him as he realizes they don't work on him. Confused, Cornlock realizes the bigger problem is that he can't see the Duke either. The equally bewildered Sabancia Duke questions the situation as Cornlock apologizes, admitting he can't see him. The truth is revealed. Cornlock holds the unconscious Lark as a human shield, rendering him invisible to the Duke. A flashback begins, explaining the Duke's cursed bloodline that transforms humans into monsters. In a throne room, the Duke clutches his head in agony before a body lying in a pool of blood. Transformed into a monstrous beast, he howls in despair, terrified of killing his own wife and daughter. His tragic story unfolds against the backdrop of his desolate, imposing castle at night. To protect his loved ones, he evacuated his family and abandoned his home forever. He then sealed his own cursed soul within a magical book, the very grimoire hidden in this library. Back in the present, Lark's body convulses as he's possessed by the Duke's spirit, his face becoming a screaming skull. The possessed Lark charges forward as Cornlock wonders if the vampiric impulse is driving him. Cornlock's eyes narrow, revealing the second strategic reason he chose Lark for this quest. The possessed Lark throws a powerful punch, his physical abilities now maximized by the Duke's spirit. Cornlock effortlessly blocks the punch, knowing Lark's secret weakness. He recalls that the model student originally had the Academy's lowest physical strength stat. Pinning the defeated Lark with his foot, Cornlock resolves to kill him to clear the quest, despite feeling sorry for him. As he prepares the final blow, Cornlock thinks of the powerful rewards, the Duke's cape and armor. He envisions himself wearing the legendary cape, knowing the items are crucial for future events. Speaking directly to the spirit, He tempts it with knowledge of his wife, Louina Duke, and daughter, Cecilia Duke. The possession subsides, and a conscious Lark looks up as Corin Locke begins telling the Duke's story. Corin Locke recounts the tale of the Duke's daughter, who grew up to become an amazing adventurer. With a knowing smirk, he asks the spirit if providing this closure was a satisfying response. A single tear rolls down Lark's cheek, as Corin Locke admits he also wanted to bring peace to the tormented soul. Lark apologizes for attacking, but Corin Locke cheerfully brushes it off, saying he wasn't hit anyway. Having found peace, the Duke's spirit ascends after a long conversation with Corin Locke. Corin Locke receives his reward for completing the quest, a bag of epic soul dust from the defeated spirit. A system notification displays the grimoire, revealing it contains the abilities and spells of the Sabancia Duke. Corin Locke acquires the Persistent Warrior's Regeneration ability, which allows his body to recover as long as he maintains his will to fight. He reflects that this was Perksahu's ability, but he's unsure of its true power since its previous owner was rarely ever injured. A groggy Lark sits up as Corin Locke tells him not to push himself after being possessed by an evil spirit. Lark holds his chin, asking if getting possessed is supposed to hurt, to which Corin Locke cheekily agrees. Flustered, Lark tells him to just take the grimoire Corin Locke is offering, stunned to see such a rare item. Corin Locke reveals this was the last reason he chose Lark, who hesitantly asks if he can truly have the precious book. Wow. Lark's face lights up with pure joy as he opens the grimoire, fulfilling Corin Locke's wish to see his happiness. A notification shows Corin Locke earned 80 points for completing the quest, which he realizes is equivalent to leveling up 16 times. Realizing he can't gain stats directly, he understands the massive point reward is compensation, still amazed by the amount. He receives another notification. By not turning a blind eye to Lark Bugman's misfortunes, he's gained 40 stat points. He also gains 40 stat points for not turning a blind eye to the Sabancia Duke's misfortunes. The scene shifts to the stamina training room, where Corin Locke offers potatoes to the other students. A student with blue hair eagerly accepts his offer, joined by a crowd of others who all want some. She asks if he's planning to catch spirit bodies again today, and he confirms while stretching. Smiling brightly, she offers her full support and promises to cheer him on. Nearby students gossip, asking Mariette why she's giving a first-year false hope after he failed yesterday and calling him a jerk. Mariette simply smiles and replies with a knowing, "Is that so?" She suddenly bets 2 gold coins on his success, sparking a flurry of counterbets as Corin Locke sighs in annoyance. Grasping his polearm, Corin Locke decides to focus, eager to test how much stronger his new stats have made him. He resolves to test the basics first, unleashing a powerful swing of his weapon. Stab Ominous Serpent. He recalls that Slithering Serpent is a difficult technique, so he's starting with the most basic version. Expecting to barely make a scratch, he's shocked when his attack unleashes a massive wave of brilliant blue energy. The swirling vortex of raw power continues to radiate from his simple strike. The onlooking students are completely stunned, questioning how he managed it in one blow with a basic technique. Even Corin Locke is shocked by his own power, wondering if he's become too strong too quickly. Mariette observes that he succeeded in one swing this time, a huge improvement from the 3 it took him yesterday. He's surprised she was watching so closely and internally marvels at her ability to track his technique, wondering what kind of eyesight she possesses. Mariette abruptly shoves a bag toward him, declaring it's his share, leaving him confused. She explains she won her bet thanks to him as the defeated bettors lie on the floor, and asks why he seems hesitant. With a $sign gleaming in his eye, Corin Locke grins mischievously, asking who could possibly hate money. The two laugh triumphantly, with Corin Locke praising Mariette's intelligence as he clutches his winnings. Munching on a potato, Corin Locke reflects on his past life, noting he's only on the 5th of 6 steps to enlightenment. He takes another bite, confident in his spear skills, but aware he still has a long road ahead. The real issue is rune magic. His attempt to cast Hagalars fails due to a lack of mana. Annoyed, he recalls that this was an unresolved problem in his past life due to the magic's immense mana cost. He walks pensively down a long, pillared hallway within the academy. As night falls over the academy, he thinks to himself that an enemy he can't defeat is already present. He spots a nun reading under a tree, shocked to see the heavenly Yaksha Huaran just sitting there. Deciding it's best to leave well enough alone, Corin Locke resolves to just ignore her and walk away. As he passes, Huaran's voice cuts through the silence, stating that he has been combined. In a chilling close-up, Huaran's piercing red eye stares as she identifies him as the owner of his body. Corinlock freezes in utter shock, a single thought racing through his mind. Does she know? His panicked expression intensifies as the terrifying question echoes in his thoughts again. A narration explains Hworan's nature as a jiangji, a living corpse containing both a human and a monster soul. It's said that her soul eyes, existing between life and death, can perceive the true color of another soul. Hworan confronts him directly, asking what it feels like to crush and consume the original soul. Feigning ignorance, Corinlock crosses his arms and nonchalantly replies, "Do know," leaving Hworan momentarily speechless. The question hangs in the air, illustrated by two versions of Corinlock. Are the original and the current soul different people? Corinlock recalls a past moment of defeat, realizing his previous efforts were ultimately pointless. Hworan's piercing gaze meets his as she states the original soul is still present, and he isn't the body's true owner. As Corinlock listens, she continues her accusation, calling him a thief and a robber with no right to his current form. He deflects with a bizarre story about a man named Bruce who turns into a green giant, leaving Hworan completely bewildered. Corinlock acts out the story with a silly pose, explaining the two personalities hate each other, which only confuses Hworan more. He finally makes his point, arguing that whether a soul is original or new, both have unique traits and can coexist. With conviction, Corinlock declares that regardless of the circumstances, there is no sin in simply being born. Hworan quietly refutes his philosophy, stating that for some, being born is indeed a sin. Corinlock reflects that he understood the agony of this child, but now his perspective has changed. Turning to leave, he bids her a simple farewell, walking away from the silent nun. As dawn breaks, Corinlock walks through the academy grounds, trying to find his way to the southern part. He arrives at a large, ornate mission board covered in various requests and notices. Gazing at the board, he considers that completing these tasks is a necessary step for his progression. He reaffirms his true goal, deciding he doesn't need to be hung up on simply leveling up. As he observes the board, he notices a woman staring intently at the missions and wonders why. Corinlock recognizes her as Alicia, recalling that in his past life, Park Se-hoo killed her, and his memories are fuzzy. He greets Alicia Arden, who bows nervously, and questions why a high-ranking student like her is already taking missions. Alicia admits she needs money, surprising Corinlock, who asks about the hefty support fund for second-rank students. She dejectedly explains she was denied the funds because her family's income is in the top 10%. Corinlock understands, comparing her situation to a scholarship system that excludes the wealthy. Steaming with frustration, Alicia adds that her permissive parents won't help, forcing her to earn her own living expenses. Corinlock suggests a cost-effective patrol mission for quick cash, and Alicia's face lights up with hope. He offers to do the mission with her, but then declines, stating he has another task to complete. He snatches a flyer for a missing cat named Butterfly, determined to spec up by choosing the best missions. Waving goodbye to his clients, Corinlock reflects that his true goal is fulfilling a commandment, not the small pay. He battles water monsters to save the cat, aiming to prevent its owner from falling into depression. A little girl cries with joy as she hugs her rescued cat, who meows in her arms. Corinlock laughs maniacally as the commandment activates, terrifying the girl, who calls him weird. His next focus is a point reward, triggered by seeing a boy being bullied by 3 thugs. After intervening, Corinlock joyfully receives a jeweled ring as his reward, ecstatic about the points. He suddenly remembers another, more important mission he wrote a memo for before heading out. His search leads him to a quirky, chicken-themed building, which he realizes isn't the right place. Nearby, a muscular chef with sunglasses clenches his fists in frustration, also failing to find what he seeks. The chef despairs in his messy kitchen, unable to create a sauce that satisfies his craving. A voice tells him, "That's not it," causing the startled chef to look up and ask who's there. Corinlock appears in the doorway with a devious, sharp-toothed grin, having found his target. With a cheerful, "Goodbye," he dashes out of the restaurant, leaving the chef utterly bewildered by the crazy intruder. Skeptical, the chef tries Corinlock's suggestion, adding starch syrup to a sauce while questioning the bizarre ingredient. Bam! One taste is all it takes for an epiphany. He's found the perfect flavor, a mission Corinlock knew he had to crack. Corinlock is stunned to realize the commandment activated even though he was just pursuing his own selfish interests. He throws his arms up in triumph, declaring that a person who makes perfect yangyom chicken can do no wrong. Ha 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 ha. He laughs wildly on a rooftop as Hwaran watches him from afar. Hwaran observes his bizarre celebration with a deadpan expression, thinking he's a complete weirdo. A woman in a large hat appears behind Hwaran, reminding her she needs permission to leave the city. The woman with glasses stares down at Hwaran with a stern, unwavering gaze. The memory of Cornlock's words echoes. There's no sin in being born. Hwaran's inner turmoil twists his words into a curse. You shouldn't have been born. Standing alone against the sunset, Hwaran looks out over the city in solitude. The scene transitions to a sun-dappled, peaceful forest. The woman in the hat stands at a podium, addressing a crowd of students about survival tactics for the hunting ground. A map details the survival test's objective: reach a cabin at the northern end of the forest to pass. She instructs the students to wear their rank armbands, which can be returned at the cabin. A student with sharp teeth grins greedily as she explains points will be awarded based on arrival time. Cornlock scans the crowd, noting Hwaran's predictable absence, when a voice suddenly calls his name. He turns to see Alicia and asks about her mission. She happily confirms she earned her living expenses thanks to him. Alicia offers him a honey bomb candy she found too sweet, and she gasps in excitement at the precious treat. With a sharp crack of her whip, the woman in the hat declares the hunting ground test has begun. A massive, swirling purple magic circle envelops the students, preparing to teleport them. Cornlock muses that only Madame Josephine, the Great Witch, could cast space magic on such a grand scale. In an instant, Cornlock and the other students are scattered throughout the dense forest. Landing on his feet, Cornlock is bewildered to hear the sounds of battle erupting immediately. He peeks through the foliage to see two students already dueling, a common sight in this important event. Deciding to ignore the pointless fight, Cornlock dashes away to pursue his own objective. His true target comes into focus, second-rank Alicia, easily identified by her blue shoulder strap. He sprints through the trees, a faint red glow emanating from his outstretched finger. Cornlock recalls his clever trick, revealing he planted a tracking rune on the candy Alicia ate. With a devious grin, he thinks to himself that the rune will ensure their paths cross again very soon. He leaps through the air with a wild laugh, maniacally screaming Alicia's name into the forest. Back at the entrance, a girl in a red hood informs the chairman she's entering the forest, and he advises caution. Madame Josephine whirls around, frantically asking where the child went and accusing the chairman. The chairman calmly clarifies that she left on her own, much to Josephine's disbelief. He confirms it as a single footstep lands firmly on the forest floor. Hwaran now runs through the woods as the chairman narrates that she seems to have had a change of heart. Her expression is grimly determined as she clutches the cross around her neck, focused on her pursuit. Elsewhere in the forest, a voice cries out in pain, followed by a desperate shout to catch her. Alicia, looking frustrated, demands to know why several students are ganging up on her, calling it unfair. She stands ready with her sword, amidst a group of defeated opponents, holding her own against them. A downed student groans that what's truly unfair are her powerful abilities. Alicia fends off another attacker, yelling at the monster to just get knocked out already. She sends a brawny student flying with a powerful kick, then freezes in surprise at a new arrival. Cornlock appears amidst a menacing red aura, and Alicia timidly asks if he just saved her. His voice turns sinister as he repeats himself, his eyes glowing with predatory intent. With a sudden slash, he reveals his true desire, her pretty blue armband. Crying in shock, Alicia shouts that she trusted him, believing he was a good person who gave her candy. Cornlock points at her with a wicked smile, telling her she can become a good person by giving him the armband. Alicia defiantly raises her sword, preparing for a fight she didn't expect. Realizing she misjudged him completely, she's stunned by his overwhelming strength. Cornlock lunges forward, a demonic grin spreading across his face as his power surges. As their weapons clash, Alicia analyzes his aggressive close-range tactics, realizing he is toying with her. Spotting small gaps in his onslaught, she resolves to strike during the slight intervals between his attacks. Seizing an opportunity, she lunges forward to deliver a counterattack. Her blade meets his pole arm in a shower of sparks as he effortlessly parries her strike. He smirks, correctly identifying her weakness as an over-reliance on talent instead of rigorous practice. The first principle of his technique, Lan, is demonstrated as he deflects her incoming attack. The second, Na, follows as he uses his polearm to push down her weapon, creating an opening. The third principle, Chal, is a simple, straight stab that leaves Alicia frozen in shock. These basic movements combine to form the most fundamental, yet powerful technique. In other words, he has achieved spear intent, the ultimate counter. Unleashing the ultimate essence of his technique, he sends Alicia flying backward in defeat. A title card shows Korenlock thrusting his spear upward, blasting Alicia into the air. Kikyu Alicia crashes to the ground, her sword clattering away as she gasps in pain. Coughing, she realizes that without her aura to block, the attack would have been incredibly dangerous. She marvels at his profound skill, which transcends simple strength or speed, and wonders who he truly is. Looking up at Korenlock's menacing grin, she can't believe a 5th-rank knight possesses such power. Korenlock smirks as he takes the blue armband, telling a stunned Alicia he'll make good use of it. Boom! A sudden explosion in the distance catches Korenlock off guard as he bites on the armband. Wondering about the noise, he's forced to block a massive sword with his polearm. He instantly recognizes the magic sword, realizing he's been targeted by a powerful opponent. A new challenger appears, asking how Korenlock blocked his heavy iron sword as he presses his attack. Surrounded by floating blades, a swordsman with white hair demands that the 5th-rank hand over the armband. Korenlock grimaces, recognizing the formidable Dronworski and lamenting his bad luck. The ground is littered with defeated students and monsters, a testament to Drone's brutal efficiency. Standing untouched amidst the carnage, Drone's relaxed demeanor highlights his vast superiority over Alicia. With the armband in his mouth, Korenlock resigns himself to his only option. He decides to run, realizing there's no point in fighting the overwhelmingly powerful Dron. Dron is left standing alone, completely dumbfounded by Korenlock's sudden retreat. He takes a step forward, trying to process what he just saw in the fleeing student's mouth. His eyes flash with realization as he confirms that the object was definitely blue. Boom! As Dron's magic swords pursue him, Korenlock yells in frustration, asking why Alicia is following him. Korenlock flees in a panic with Alicia close behind, both looking terrified. His expression hardens with resolve. Forgetting the fight, he focuses on taking the armband to the finish line. His eyes lock onto his goal as he spots the cabin through the trees. Upon reaching the destination, he's stopped by a large golem and its master, who apologizes insincerely. The golem sorcerer Kreneluden smirks, declaring Korenlock needs to surrender the armband to pass. Alicia shouts that it's unfair to block the exit, while Korenlock sighs at the difficult situation. He finds himself trapped between Krenel in front and the approaching Dron from behind. Accepting his fate, Korenlock ties his hair back, preparing to face 2 named opponents at once. Alicia watches in disbelief, wondering how he plans to fight both Krenel and Dron simultaneously. With no other choice, Korenlock stands ready to face the pincer attack. At the finish line, a hand reaches for the door as a voice wonders who took first place. It's Korenlock, who cheekily wipes his mouth with an armband and asks to choose his prize. An official congratulates him on acquiring 3 blue armbands, to which Korenlock just chuckles. In a flashback, the battlefield is shown with Korenlock victorious over a defeated Dron and an unconscious Krenel. Watching from the side, Alicia can only whisper that his performance was incredible. A recap explains his strategy, striking Dron's magic sword core before it could fully power up. With minimal movement, he dodged incoming attacks, skillfully redirecting them toward Krenel's golems. He then slipped behind Dron, cleverly using him as a shield against the ensuing golem assault. While Dron was occupied, Korenlock swiftly destroyed the golem's power crystals, neutralizing them. After dispatching the golems, he dealt with Krenel, displaying masterful reaction speed and psychological tactics. He organized the entire chaotic battle in an instant, fighting with the experience of a seasoned veteran. Alicia muses that his mastery of fundamentals to overcome his weaknesses reminded her of her sister. Korenlock coldly tells her that her defeat was due to an over-reliance on talent, bringing her to tears. Clenching her fists, Alicia finds new resolve, deciding that she too needs to start working hard. Dron reflects on the fight, baffled at how Korenlock seemed to know all his abilities beforehand. Krenel lies defeated on the ground, clutching a rock in frustration. Korenlock lectures Krenel on his flawed strategy, suggesting he should have had a friend for backup, but Krenel admits he doesn't have one. Hearing Krenel has no friends, Korenlock stands silently over the dejected boy, and the remains of his golem. Crenel grits his teeth and curses his humiliating defeat. After the battle, Alicia, Drone, and Crenel are all left to contemplate their encounter with Coronlock. Humming to himself, Coronlock is identified as the strongest remaining participant in the hunting ground. A new challenger emerges as the narration introduces a druid protected by the forest. A green-haired druid named Yule channels the power of nature, unleashing a powerful spell. Yule watches as a massive sphere of water magic forms, hinting that the participants aren't the only ones present. The narration reveals the strongest person there is the greatest mage of Merkaba Academy. A smiling, blue-haired mage is introduced as Mariette Dunalef. A powerful force surges through the air. Rushing water fills the scene with overwhelming energy. Hick, Yuel is shown crying, trapped by tentacles, a victim of an unfortunate matchup during the senior-led training. The training concludes as Mariette kindly introduces herself to the defeated Yuel, who timidly responds. Mariette's expression darkens as she begins to connect the dots. Her thoughts trail off as she spots an imposing nun approaching from the trees. The nun stares forward with piercing, glowing red eyes. She observes the scene of defeated students, noting that Mariette must be looking for someone and has gathered similar people. As the nun rushes past, a smiling Mariette turns in confusion. The nun creates a massive wall of ice, offering a terse apology. Mariette grins wickedly, stating that according to the rules, she's a monster and cannot simply ignore this challenge. The nun looks on, thinking to herself that this is all so annoying. Back at the prize station, an official exclaims over an unprecedented score of 117 points as Coronlock asks to choose his reward. 3 potential prizes are displayed: a matte bore molar knife, a leather protective coat, and shark bear's bile. Coronlock considers the options, noting that while the bile is valuable, he already knows what he wants. Giving a thumbs up, he confidently selects a mandrake seed, impressing the prize official with his choice. The official asks Coronlock how he'd like to spend his remaining 17 points. With a huge smile, Coronlock excitedly picks nutritional plant supplements and a pair of earmuffs. Feeling satisfied after a good shopping session, Coronlock departs from the prize area, passing a field of defeated participants. 2 more students cross the finish line. A boisterous blonde man celebrates his second-place finish while his partner timidly notes his own score. Coronlock compliments their teamwork, and the blonde student eagerly suggests more stamina training that night. A young man with orange hair and goggles is startled by something behind a rock. Coronlock offers to help, but the boy refuses. Coronlock advises him that he should learn to accept help and say thanks. With a smirk, Coronlock reflects on the usefulness of golem tankers as the event slowly comes to a close. The boy happily holds up a red gem, a restoring core for his golem. Elsewhere, the second-rank knight Alicia Arden is shown to be injured. Another student with white hair sits calmly, completely out of fighting power. Coronlock is horrified to find the second-rank druid Yuel unconscious, realizing she was another victim. He picks her up, frantically worrying that she's dead, and questioning how far Mariette is willing to go. Carrying Yuel, he sprints through the forest, trying to understand what is happening. A stampede of forest creatures flees in a panic. Yule weakly awakens, warning him to run away from Mariette, leaving Coronlock confused. Mariette stands enveloped in a powerful aura, hailed as the talented successor to Professor Josephine. To a genius like her, the hunting ground is merely a playground for helping her juniors grow. But this is no longer play. Panting for breath, Mariette desperately tries to analyze the situation. She looks up in shock, sensing a new, overwhelming presence. Mariette spins, unleashing a vortex of sharp ice projectiles. With a powerful burst of red energy, the nun shatters Mariette's attack. Tisk Mariette struggles to defend, realizing her elementary magic is completely ineffective. The narration explains that Mariette had promised the professors not to use attack magic above an intermediate level. With dawning horror, Mariette realizes the dire implication. The truth is revealed. She was already using her full power, as the nun effortlessly kicks through her defenses to strike another student. Mariette is sent crashing violently into the ground. Lying in a small crater, she groans in pain as the nun stands over her defeated form. Mariette trembles, warning an unseen figure to stay away from her. In front of her stands a menacing nun, wreathed in a sinister red aura. Mariette struggles as her hand pulses with unstable blue energy. In a desperate panic, Mariette unleashes a wave of crystalline magic as an authoritative voice commands her to stop. The voice echoes again, ordering someone named Hwaran to cease her actions. Professor Josephine suddenly appears, catching Mariette and asking if she is okay. Dazed and battered, Mariette weakly assures her that she's fine. But with her last word, she loses consciousness and collapses. From a distance, a woman in a red hat silently observes the scene. The aftermath of the incident led to several unexpected outcomes. Corinne narrates that the first surprise was him, a fifth-ranked student, taking first place. Meanwhile, Mariette lies still in a recovery bed, unconscious. Corinne watches over her, noting with relief that her premature awakening hasn't derailed the original plot. Deciding to prepare, he realizes he has 3 weeks until her true awakening. He travels deep into a forest, seeking a specific being who resides there. In a strange preparation, he begins applying a large amount of eye drops. He then feigns a comical slip, falling into a pond while pretending to panic. He cries out in fake despair over a precious seed from his mother sinking into the water. A sinister voice from the shadows asks why he is crying so sadly. His target has appeared. The being reveals himself as the gold-axe Taoist hermit, floating serenely on a cloud. The scene perfectly mirrors the classic fable of the honest woodcutter. Corinne recalls an old game guide where players experimented with dropping hundreds of items into this very pond. The hermit tests his honesty with gold and silver seeds, both of which Corinne staunchly refuses. Pleased by this, the hermit smiles and offers Corinne's original seed back to him. Weeping with joy, Corinne confirms the seed is his, fully embracing his role as the crazy hero. The hermit praises his honesty, showing him a mandrake seed and a white-silver mandrake seed. As a reward for his integrity, the hermit presents a gold mandrake seed, giving him all 3. Corinne bows deeply in thanks as the hermit descends back into the pond. The moment the coast is clear, Corinne's greedy nature emerges, thrilled that the items can be duplicated. The item descriptions explain the seeds grow into mandrakes that shine with golden and silver light. He laughs maniacally, vowing that this time, unlike in the game, all the rewards are his alone. The narrative shifts, explaining the trigger for Mariette awakening as a special vampire. It is revealed to be a mission in 3 weeks concerning a murderous vampire named John Doe. Corinne recalls how, as a weak 5th-rank knight, no one would ever agree to form a party with him. He knew that to attract allies, he first had to demonstrate overwhelming talent and strength. Now, he plans to propose forming a party once the key named characters have recovered in a week. The story introduces the first final boss of the heroic legend of Arhan. Mariette sits alone in her room, silhouetted against a large moonlit window. Ugh! Josephine finds Mariette clutching her throat in pain and calls out her name. Rushing to her bedside, Josephine anxiously asks about her throat, scolding her for overusing magic. As Mariette suffers, Corinne's voiceover continues, explaining his need for enough party members. He confidently states his belief that with the right team, he can save her from her misfortune. His plan begins with training Alicia to unlock her full potential. He then outlines his recruitment goals: hire the mercenary drone, coax the druid, and befriend Cranel. The golem sorcerer Cranel is shown standing confidently in front of his massive creation. With a sly grin, Corinne rubs his hands together, convinced his well-laid plan will be a piece of cake. A sudden close-up on a glowing red eye hints at a sinister turn of events. Back in the room, Josephine's face is frozen in absolute terror. The awakening has begun. With fangs bared and eyes glowing red, Mariette lunges at her. Slap. In another location, a hand slams a book shut as an unseen person declares the story boring. At her desk, Senior Professor Josephine Clara sits with a weary expression. Elsewhere, a young nun gazes out a window, contemplating her confinement and wondering if she should escape. Wham! Suddenly, Corinne appears upside down outside her window, cheerfully greeting her and leaving her utterly shocked. Still hanging from a tree, Corinne introduces himself and asks the nun, whom he calls Hwaran, to open the window. He offers Hwaran a boxed slice of cake, explaining he didn't want to arrive empty-handed. Hwaran reminds him he's breaking school rules, but Corinne cheekily replies that he's just on a tree, and notes Madame Josephine isn't present. He inwardly recalls that Madame Josephine locked Hwaran up for over 4 days, understanding her concerns about Hwaran being a special demi-human. Hwaran clarifies that Josephine hasn't visited at all in 4 days, a revelation so shocking it causes Corinne to fall from the tree. Incredulous, Corin asks if she hasn't come even once, to which Hwarin simply confirms, "Yup." Ak u kiok. A loud crash echoes from below as Corin hits the ground hard. Hwarin peers down as the cake splatters over her, while Corinne complains about the pain and promises to buy her food later. The situation is deemed abnormal. The Academy's most dangerous person, Hwarin, has been left completely unattended. Elsewhere, Professor Dana and Professor Firmac Damon rush through the halls, discussing their search for someone on the outskirts. Corin is stopped by a security officer who curtly informs him that his visiting request has been rejected. With a toothy grin, Corinne identifies the man as 3rd Security Officer Crone and offers him a sandwich and drink, claiming they're from Madame Josephine. As Crone accepts the food, he praises Josephine's generosity, unaware that Corin's request to see Mariette was just denied. Corin watches Crone eat, his suspicions growing. A guard stationed at the sickbay is strange, and he's planned for it. Crone suddenly doubles over in pain as a blue light envelops him, and Corin feigns concern, pointing him toward a washroom. Clutching his stomach, Crone begs Corin to watch the door while he's gone, to which Corin agrees with a knowing smile. Once alone, Corin's demeanor becomes grave, as he worries that a feared event is happening a month too early. He grips his shirt in distress, his anxiety mounting. Rushing into the infirmary room, he stops in his tracks, shocked to see Senior Mariette lying unconscious on the bed. He breaks into a cold sweat, realizing the girl in the bed is actually Isabelle, who has taken Mariette's place. Spotting 2 small puncture marks on Isabelle's neck, he understands the grim secret the professors were trying to hide. With dawning horror, Corinne realizes Mariette Dunlap has awakened as the first final boss, a vampire. He sighs, looking at the scene with grim resignation. A game-like interface details Phase 1 of a past battle, showing how a party can easily handle an initial monster wave. Phase 2 illustrates containing the monstrous boss with magic circles. After gaining the upper hand by dealing damage, the battle intensifies. A vortex of chaotic red and black energy represents a powerful attack. Phase 3 shows the party facing the rampaging boss within its terrifying realm of blood. Corinne recalls that the fight, while challenging, wasn't insurmountable for his past team. However, he remembers the high cost. He was responsible for injuring Alicia Arden, destroying Dronworski's weapon, and breaking Cranel's golem. He clutches his head in anguish, realizing the dire situation he now faces. We're fucked. A menacing, shadowy figure with glowing red eyes materializes. Corinne recalls his past party waiting to ambush the threat, but Park Si-who deliberately allowed Mariette to escape. He remembers Alicia being violently thrown, her bones shattered into 8 pieces. He also recalls finding Kral defeated, his golem's core broken, rendering him useless in the fight. Corin worries that if Hwarin gets involved this time, the entire situation will become unpredictable. He switches tactics, presenting a special capture commission to a mercenary. The mercenary, Dronworski, scoffs at the request, citing the rule against unwinnable fights and demanding 20 gold coins for his broken sword. Corinne offers a rare still dust card as collateral, guaranteeing its perfect purity. Dron's eyes sparkle with interest, calling Corin a desirable employer as a notification confirms Dronworski has joined the party. Moving to the library, Corin opens a book, revealing glowing green runes within its pages. The druid Yuel appears, shocked he found a book she thought was lost, but Corin reveals he knows she's looking for the Ogham alphabet. He makes her an offer, help him, and he will teach her everything she wants to know. Yuel agrees, and a notification announces Druid Yuel has joined the party, much to Corin's delight. In the canteen, Corin pitches the dangerous mission to 2 more students, promising honor and fame upon success. The students listen quietly, with one wondering if the proposition is too much for them. Instantly, their expressions change to manic glee as they agree, declaring the idea romantic, while Corin internally celebrates their obsession. His team assembled behind him, Corin declares they've met the minimum conditions to proceed. A young noble recalls with a troubled expression how he found a girl crying and hiding in the forest. He remembers his surprise that someone so powerful would hide in a tunnel for an entire month. Corin's eyes narrow as he recalls being told Mariette hid in the only forest at Merkaba Academy. As the party ventures into the woods, a teammate asks Corin how they'll find her. He cryptically replies they just need to ask. Corinne turns to Yule, who nervously asks just how much he knows about her abilities. Yule strikes the ground with her staff, unleashing a wave of green magical energy. Enveloped in a verdant aura, Yule closes her eyes and commands the spirits to lead them to their target. The brilliant green energy of Yuel's spell intensifies and spreads throughout the forest. A brawler and a scholar in the group react with awe as the narrator explains that countless spirits are responding to Yuel's call. Unable to see the spirits himself, Corin asks his team if they have successfully located Mariette. His entire party stares back at him silently, confirming his question as he asks where she is. Corinne recoils in shock as a monstrous creature lunges from behind him, a teammate having warned him a second too late. Cursing, Corin dodges a vicious claw swipe, stunned by the ferocity of the sudden attack. A horde of demonic beasts emerges from the darkness, as a teammate wonders if Senior Mariette has become a monster. A young scholar named Lark grits his teeth, his grimoire glowing with arcane power as he prepares a spell. A brawler named Jaeger grins, welcoming the challenge as a perfect warm-up for a fight. Corin shouts for Jaeger to pull back from the front line, warning that he will be surrounded by the monsters. Corin coolly issues commands, ordering a retreat of 3 steps and telling Lark to cover their rear. Continuing his orders, Corin tells Yuel to stay with Lark and Drone, not to advance too far. Drone watches in admiration, thinking that Corin is not just strong but a skilled leader and strategist. He concludes that Corin is like a commander, and the Academy's ranking system must be wrong. Jaeger yells in frustration, demanding to know where Mariette is, while Yuel insists this is where the spirits led them. Lark speculates that Mariette might be controlling the unusually ferocious monsters, but quickly dismisses the idea. Smeared with blood, Corin agrees, stating that Mariette is no puppeteer and wouldn't act so thoughtlessly. As his team stands over the fallen monsters, one asks why they were attacked. Corin simply replies that isn't the reason. Corin explains that while monsters act on habit, desperation can cause them to abandon all instinct. The party looks on in stunned silence as a new, ominous presence reveals itself before them. A terrifying figure wreathed in red demonic energy appears, and she is identified as Mariette. Corin immediately orders the team into formation, sending Yuel and Lark to the back as they brace for another fight. Corin then tells Dran and Jaeger to fall back and provide support. Jaeger agrees, trusting his employer's plan. With his team positioned, Corin narrows his eyes and grimly declares he will take the front. A status window appears for Corin Locke, displaying his disappointingly low aura and mana ranks. The narrator notes these stats are merely backup numbers, hinting at Mariette's fated influence on the world. From the back lines, Yuel and Lark give a quiet confirmation of their orders. With his party ready for battle behind him, Corin prepares to lead the charge, announcing, "Let's do this." A quest notification appears, stating the first step to saving the world is to stop Mariette Dunalev. Wreathed in a sinister red aura, the corrupted Mariette stands with a menacing, shadowed gaze. Mariette cries tears of blood, her glowing red eyes filled with anguish as she lets out a pained groan. Yuel and Alicia watch in shock, with Yuel pointing out she's crying, while Alicia coldly states this changes nothing. A massive, shadowy executioner's sword descends rapidly, aimed directly at the tormented Mariette. Corin looks up, his eyes wide with surprise at the sudden, powerful intervention. Red energy erupts to block the giant blade as its wielder expresses shock that the attack failed. Lark identifies the defensive power as an orb, a familiar born from a vampire's blood, amazed at its early creation. Corin calmly explains that since the familiar is newly born, it can only block attacks without a proper supply of blood or mana. Alicia notes that covering a mage's defensive weakness is still a big deal, but Corin dismisses her concerns, saying it's fine. Mariette screams for them to disappear as a blood-red orb above her glows, signaling an imminent wide-range attack. Yuel braces herself, acknowledging the incoming attack as green spiritual energy swirls around her. Placing her hand upon the ground, Yuel declares that the forest is her stage. Yuel unleashes her power, erecting a massive protective barrier of plants as skill names for rapid development and spirit's protection appear. Yuel screams in agony, her green magical barrier cracking under the immense pressure of Mariette's attack. Jaeger panics, worrying the barrier will break, while Lark desperately tells him not to jinx it. Straining, Yuel realizes the single defensive spell has drained half her mana, her heart throbbing from the after effects. Determined to press on despite her exhaustion, Yuel is asked by Corin if she's reaching her limit. Corin confidently declares that because of a promise he made, he will turn the tables in just 5 moves. Panting and desperate, Ewell puts her faith in him, asking if he can really pull it off. Mariette's sinister red orb crackles with raw, overwhelming power, continuing its assault. A stark diagram shows 5 faceless figures, representing the party standing against the onslaught. The narrator explains this is Phase 2 of the battle, where Mariette herself attacks after her monsters fall. He reflects on this pattern, recalling it from both the game and his previous life. Corin issues a strategic warning to Lark and Ewell, stating they only have mana for 2 more beginner spells. Lark is stunned by his calculation. Giving his final order, Corin tells the group to retreat as far as possible once Ewell rejoins them. Corin's thoughts reveal that the prior monster waves were large in scale but lacked true power. He knows the real danger is the advanced alchemy magic that Mariette is about to unleash. With a flash in his red eye, Corin senses the impending attack and warns his team that she's coming. A system window announces her next move as a field of deadly red crystals erupts. Alchemy magic freeze. The ground shatters as the crimson crystals burst forth in a devastating area of effect attack. The force of the explosion sends the team flying as the very ground beneath them collapses. In a desperate last stand, Ewell begins a sacred chant to the earth and the ashes. Invoking the ancient power of Strafe, Ewell is crowned with glowing green vines. A wave of power washes over her as she joyfully exclaims that the spirits are responding to her call. Corin recalls that while he engraved the text, only a pure-blooded druid like Ewell could activate it. The narrator explains this is a secret text from an ancient time, a reward for completing Ewell's scenario. Jaeger and Alicia stare up in utter disbelief at the power being unleashed. From the swirling green energy, a massive, vine-covered golem with glowing red eyes materializes. The party stands dwarfed by the colossal summoned creature, wondering what it is. Ewell gasps that she actually summoned it, while Corin smirks, admitting his help was cheating but necessary. Corin spots a surviving owlbear and orders Jaeger to throw it to the newly summoned Wickerman. Jaeger is shocked to find Corin was serious, while Corin gives a thumbs up, confirming it was all part of his plan. Following the order without question, Jaeger hurls the struggling owlbear towards the golem. The owlbear lands squarely on the Wickerman's chest, right over a glowing red core. The Wickerman's core ignites, absorbing the owlbear in a flash of golden light as Jaeger watches in shock. The narrator clarifies the Wickerman is a golem that burns a sacrifice inside its hollow frame to power itself. At Ewell's command, the Wickerman's eyes shift from red to green, now ready for battle. The Wickerman unleashes a powerful blast of corrosive green energy from its hands. Ewell strains under the immense magical burden, finding it difficult to maintain control of the golem. Corin desperately shouts for Ewell to hold on, warning that they will all die if she loses control. The mighty Wickerman, its chest burning like a furnace, confronts the corrupted Mariette. Mariette responds with a furious scream, unleashing a barrage of dark, thorny projectiles. The projectiles pierce the Wickerman's body, but Corin reassures his worried team that it will be fine. He explains that the golem is a structure, not a living thing, and fire holds a natural advantage over ice. However, his theory is immediately challenged as a massive, jagged ice spear materializes above them. The ice spear slams into the Wickerman, shattering its core and extinguishing its inner flame. Corin stares in disbelief, shocked that his strategy has completely failed. The deactivated Wickerman stumbles, its immense weight throwing the party into chaos. Gritting his teeth in frustration, Corin realizes the common sense he relied on from the game is collapsing. The reality of the situation sets in. He's facing a special-level difficulty encounter. The source of his woes stands revealed in her full, corrupted glory, Mariette Danilef. Ewell's is violently thrown back by a surge of energy, as Corin yells for her to retreat. Corin tells a hesitant Ewell that her presence on the front line won't change the outcome of this fight. As a green-clad figure dashes ahead, a blonde-haired man named Jaeger anxiously asks his group if they can handle this, calling out to Corin. Corin explains their female opponent has exhausted her ranged attacks, implying she's now vulnerable up close. With a menacing grin and glowing eyes, Corin leaps into action, declaring it's time to fight. His companions yell in protest, scrambling to catch up to his reckless charge. An enemy with red eyes unleashes a deadly barrage of crimson spears, forcing the group to scatter. A silver-haired ally counters by activating a skill, link pass, followed by direct acceleration. His glowing red blade strikes its target with explosive force. The enemy woman grits her teeth, frustrated by her opponent's surprising durability. Jaeger soars through the air, gathering energy for a powerful descending blow. The silver-haired companion looks on in shock, enveloped in a threatening red energy. Jaeger smashes his attack into a massive wave of crimson power. Corrin smirks, revealing Jaeger's special attack is cumulative destruction, which stores and unleashes the power of attacks he endures. Celebrating prematurely, Jaeger grins maniacally and shouts that he broke through, prompting Corrin to silently curse his carelessness. A close-up shows the enemy's glowing red eye, filled with cold fury. She unleashes her ultimate ability, engulfing the area in a terrifying realm of blood. A massive, swirling vortex of blood and energy forms in the sky above them. The discarded weapons of their fallen comrades lie ominously on the blood-soaked ground. Thrown back by the immense pressure, the party is incapacitated while Corrin struggles to get up. Corrin narrates that the blood orb's shattering will activate a powerful trap, ensnaring them all. As the enemy floats menacingly, he notes the pressure is far stronger than Mariette's defensive abilities. Corrin watches as the orb drains the caster's blood and mana to manifest a monstrous beast. Realizing he's the last one standing, he laments that clearing this phase normally requires at least 3 people. Unfazed, Corrin confidently stands alone in a field of blue energy, declaring the outcome will be the same. The scene shifts to a flashback of a grand building under a dark, starry sky. A white-haired girl recalls a burning sensation in her throat. In the darkness, a panicked girl in glasses calls out a name ending in "et." The white-haired girl, now a vampire, lunges forward and bites her. She callously thinks of her trembling victim as livestock as her fangs pierce her flesh. Biting down, she feels no remorse, finding the act unimportant. A pool of blood stains the sheets, evidence of the violent act. Clutching her racing heart, she is overwhelmed by the suffocatingly delicious and disgusting scent of blood. She looks down at the body, a horrifying realization dawning that her victim wasn't livestock. Tearing up, she understands she killed someone unconsciously, with less thought than slaughtering an animal. Overcome with hunger and horror, the girl clutches her stomach in a misty forest. She turns and flees into the dark, lonely woods. Back in the present, Corrin stands resolute, surrounded by his power. A massive demonic beast formed from blood looms over him. The creature glares down, its glowing yellow eyes promising destruction. The beast unleashes a swarm of spiked, shadowy projectiles toward Corrin. Enraged, Corrin calls it a bastard dog and unleashes the 4th step of his spear technique. He shouts defiantly as he executes Spin Returning Heaven, a whirlwind attack to deflect the projectiles. Grr. The beast roars in frustration as its attack is thwarted. Grey. It howls and summons smaller, wolf-like blood creatures to swarm him. Ha! You really are a dog, Corrin taunts as he leaps into the fray. He gracefully dodges between the charging bloodhounds. Planting his hand on the ground, Corrin prepares the 5th step of his technique. He launches himself over the beasts, using their bodies as leverage for his Throw Pagoda Tree Mountain attack. Landing smoothly, Corrin grips his spear and wonders if that was merely the welcome drink. Corrinlock stands over a defeated creature, tauntingly asking if it has anything more to offer. Grrr. The creature's eye glows with fury as it prepares to retaliate. Whoosh! A red blur streaks past Corrinlock with incredible speed. He realizes the creature hasn't vanished, but is simply moving too fast for his eyes to track. With a confident smirk, Corrinlock decides to teach this speedy doggy a lesson. A lesson in victory begins. It isn't about taking 100 steps, but something far more crucial. Corrinlock demonstrates that what truly matters is a single, decisive step forward. He grins, recognizing the creature's attack pattern and declaring it won't work a second time. He prepares to unleash a powerful technique, Calamity Serpent Intent. Corrinlock executes the technique, Rising Serpent Skies, against the massive beast. A destructive sphere of dark energy tears through the battlefield. The powerful attack shatters upon impact, filling the air with crimson shards. He emerges from the blast, seemingly unharmed by the chaotic energy. The residual energy lingers, forming strange, digital-like structures against the dark sky. Cough, cough. After defeating the monstrous beast, Corrinlock stumbles back, feeling the strain of the battle. The dying creature growls defiantly as its loyalty to its creator is questioned. Cornlock muses on the creature's blamelessness, telling it to just wait for what comes next. When considering who is truly at fault, he offers a curt, surprising answer: your mom. A new, menacing figure appears, signaling the arrival of the final phase. The narration explains that Mariette Dinalev's first move is to critically injure a party member. He recalls the game's mechanics, knowing this boss cannot possibly be defeated alone. Mariette attacks, and he remembers the strategy requires the entire party to fight her together. She sinks her teeth into his neck, and he grimly experiences what it feels like to have his life drained away. Despite the life-draining attack, he clenches his fist, determined to endure the pain. He activates his skill, Persistent Warrior's Regeneration, which allows him to recover through sheer willpower. Grinding his teeth against the pain, he resolves to return from the brink of death. He remembers a kind girl from his past, who once shared potatoes with everyone. He holds her close, calmly telling her to take her time feeding so she doesn't choke. Overwhelmed, she cries while feeding, a sound of pained relief escaping her lips. Tears stream down her face as she's forced to continue, her sobs echoing her inner torment. A flashback reveals how even the great commander Sabancia Duke succumbed to his vampiric thirst immediately. In the past, Mariette resisted her urges for a month, surviving only on monster blood, which worsened her thirst. Even when captured and tormented, she displayed superhuman willpower, refusing to harm a single person. Feeling the bite on his neck, he thinks of her with concern, calling her his junior. She cries and apologizes profusely while he reflects that her status as a vampire overshadows everything else. He realizes he initially viewed her as a mere character, but his master's teachings have changed his perspective. He recalls his master's words: an adult has a duty to protect a child. Cradling her unconscious form, he accepts his role as her successor and the responsibility that comes with it. Resolved, he looks to the heavens and vows to Park Saihu that he will choose a different path. The trial concludes and a reward screen details his gains, including rank ups and pain tolerance. He recognizes Professor Josephine's space prison, but his first thought is how delicious it looks. Back in the present, Mariette happily savors a potato, a simple food she has dearly missed. Cornlock greets her from behind bars with a grin. Startling her so much, she chokes on her food. Madame Josephine expresses concern, but Cornlock assures her he can enter the cell, stating his trust in Mariette. He advises her to eat slowly, dryly, questioning who would give someone a steamed potato without any water. He scoffs as he faces a silent Mariette, waiting for her to respond. She smiles, pleasantly surprised he still likes potatoes, and happily explains their simple and timeless appeal. He leans in close, flustering her as he playfully questions her deep love for potatoes. They playfully fight with her pulling his hair over a smell and him retorting that he hadn't washed when she bit his neck. After their squabble, she sulks in the corner, while he quietly admits to himself that she doesn't actually smell bad. Corin looks down with a serious expression, admitting to Mariette, "I was scared." He clarifies that Huarun was terrifying, and he thought he might die, while Mariette confesses she was also scared but couldn't act as he did. Corin reflects on how he deliberately provoked Huarun, convincing her to participate in the hunting ground practice. He recalls Huarun unleashing her true power, which in turn provoked Mariette, and awakened the vampire within her. Mariette looks up at him, asking why he never gave up, noting that even though everyone said he would fail, he ultimately succeeded. Flustered by the praise, Corinne smiles nervously and downplays his efforts as nothing impressive. He then grows serious, telling a confused Mariette that he likes happy endings. Corinne elaborates that he enjoys simple, touching stories, where the good are rewarded and the bad are punished. A memory of a cheerful Mariette appears as Corin tells her she is a good person. He smiles warmly, adding that she's nice and pretty, and reiterates his desire for happy endings. Looking directly at her, Corinne says he wants her, Mariette Dinalev, to be happy, causing her to blush intensely. Completely flustered, Mariette asks him to leave so she can wash up, and a baffled Corinne agrees despite having just arrived. Waving cheerfully, Corin departs with a woman in a red cape, leaving the cell block. Mariette watches him go, whispering a quiet thank you for comforting her. Her hope fades as she turns back to the bars, admitting to herself that she isn't sure of the outcome. A footstep echoes as narration explains Mariette will be temporarily isolated, unable to return to normal life immediately. While Huarun, the demi-human representative, attends school without issue, a different standard is applied. Corinne walks down a hallway, knowing that because of Hwarin's acceptance, most people won't feel threatened by Mariette awakening as a demi-human. A voice calls out his name, and Corinne stops in his tracks, surprised. He turns to see a man with long, silver hair, recognizing him as the chairman. The chairman introduces himself and asks how Corinne is feeling, to which Corinne curtly asks what he wants. The chairman gets straight to the point. He's here to discuss Mariette's punishment, shocking Corinne. Corinne's mind races with dread, realizing he never considered this outcome, and fearing his happy ending is impossible. As Corinne tries to protest, the chairman calmly states that Mariette's punishment has already been decided. Corinne desperately argues that, as the one who fought her, he should be heard, questioning the swift decision. Before Corinne can continue, the chairman's casual laughter and remark, "It's as I expected," leave him speechless. The chairman's serene smile only adds to Corinne's profound confusion. He clarifies that he also believes Mariette isn't dangerous, and simply wanted to gauge the attitude of the person who fought her. Reassuringly, the chairman says her isolation will end soon, once they confirm her stability. He asks Corinne to explain the details of the incident, admitting he's curious, despite hearing stories from others. Corinne stands before the chairman and the red-caped woman, explaining that Mariette is safe and not a monster. The chairman listens intently, agreeing they will need to make an announcement, though not everything can be revealed. After hearing the details, the chairman declares it's time for him to do his job. To Corinne's utter shock, the chairman bows deeply and thanks him. The woman beside him also expresses her gratitude and apologizes for the adult's complacency, promising to repay Corinne for his help. Corinne recognizes the chairman, Ariu Kasar, as a man who always acknowledges his own weaknesses and takes responsibility. Remembering the chaos of his past life, Corinne knows the chairman was never one of the corrupt adults he fought against. Trusting the man's goodwill from his past life, Corinne smiles and asks him to please raise his head. "That is my request," Corinne states firmly, and the chairman seems to accept. Alone in her room, Mariette sits despondently on her bed, hugging her knees. She recalls Corinne's gentle embrace, the warmth of his skin as he held her. His comforting words, "It's okay," brought her back from the brink as she cried in his arms. Lost in guilt, she remembers feeling like a monster who loved people too much. Overwhelmed, she had willingly accepted Madame Josephine's magic, imprisoning herself behind the iron bars of her own despair. When Corinne visited, she pretended to be fine, but she was utterly exhausted. She saw herself as a beast, a demon who craved human blood, an enemy to all. But a simple wish for her to be happy shattered all of her self-loathing. She cries, remembering his devotion as he threw himself in harm's way to save her monstrous form. The light from the window represents his sincere goodwill, a beacon in her darkness. Hiding under her blanket, Mariette whispers his name with a newfound sense of hope. A voice whispers to another, asking if they've heard the latest gossip. 1 week after the incident, a student asks about Senior Mariette, and his companion dismissively calls her Potato Senior. In a cooking classroom, narration explains that since the demi-human Hwarin was already attending, opposition to Mariette quickly faded. Students gossip about Mariette still being in isolation after a week, wondering if she's truly dangerous as Corinne listens nearby. While she is officially still isolated, a vision of Mariette confidently walks through a crowd. Surrounded by well-wishers, Mariette realizes with a start that she's not actually there. Seeing her smiling friends, she understands with a pang of sadness that Isabelle isn't there either. Alone in her room, Mariette concludes she isn't ready to face anyone and worries that Isabelle must hate her. Believing she'd be a terrible friend, she resolves not to stand in Isabelle's way. Looking at a blood pack, Mariette decides she must disappear from the academy. Knock, knock, knock. A sudden sound at the door startles Mariette, who asks, "Who is there?" Wondering who it could be at this hour, she cautiously cracks open the door. A crying Isabelle clings to her, desperately asking if she's all right, as a stunned Mariette recognizes her. Mariette questions why she's here, prompting an indignant Isabelle to ask if she's not wanted, leaving Mariette flustered. Mariette finally asks the question weighing on her mind, "Aren't you scared of me?" Isabelle recalls Mariette's horrified and apologetic expression right after she had bitten her. She firmly tells Mariette that no matter what happens, she will always be her friend. Cradling a tearful Mariette's face, Isabelle asks her to think of her as a friend too. Why? Mariette sobs with relief, confessing she thought she'd be hated, as Isabelle comforts her. Isabelle cheerfully explains the hospital wouldn't let her leave sooner, but a junior secretly snuck her out. Looking around confused, Isabel wonders where the junior went, leaving Mariette to ponder who she meant. Corinne walks away down a sunlit hall, his trust in Mariette Dunaleff unshaken by the recent events. Mariette covers her face in happy embarrassment, realizing Corinne was the one who helped her again. Peeking through her fingers, she whispers Corinne's name with a look of deep gratitude. The clear blue sky signifies the end of the story's first part. Chairman Ariu Kassar and the red-caped woman smile, as narration states that unexpected outcomes can sometimes be for the best. Corinne stands alone on a city overlook, silhouetted against the bright sun. He looks ahead with a confident, knowing smile, ready for what comes next. In a lecture hall, Corinne reflects on his desolate, repetitive schedule of classes and training. Corinne unleashes a powerful serpent-like aura technique, the poisonous dragon exit. Panting from the effort, he seems impressed by his own power. Mariette suddenly appears, praising Corinne's amazing power and hard work, causing him to note her return to normalcy. He eyes a large spread of food, observing that Mariette prepared a lot, and it's all made from potatoes. Agreeing to eat, Corinne sits down as Mariette nervously encourages him. Mariette's eyes fixate on a drop of blood falling from a cut on Corinne's hand. As Corinne asks what's wrong, a mortified Mariette covers his eyes, confessing she drooled at the sight of his blood. Offering him a blood pack instead, she asks if there is much difference between it and live blood. She admits his blood was especially tasty, then asks Corinne if he thinks the difference is like organic versus pesticide-sprayed food. Comparing it to fresh versus frozen meat, Corinne playfully asks if she's fated to only have the frozen kind. Corinne tells her it's fine if she drinks it sometimes, catching her by surprise. He clarifies he means my blood, causing Mariette to blush furiously and yell in protest. Leaning closer, Corinne teases her about his regeneration, asking if she wants some now, but she vehemently refuses. Flustered, Mariette presents a vial of her own blood, explaining it's a powerful magic ingredient good for his body. To her shock, Corinne immediately chugs the vial without hesitation, as she protests in embarrassment. System notifications confirm his aura rank has risen, his maximum aura has increased, and points have been distributed. Surrounded by a new, fiery power, Corinne notes that he's definitely stronger than in his last life. With a fierce grin, he declares that it was great, and he can now start the next scenario. A pair of boots strides purposefully down a stone path, signaling the start of a new journey. A young woman with a long ponytail walks through a town, her life having changed significantly. In a flashback, she recalls feeling a gap in skill with a knight, spurring her to train harder. Of course, her primary motivation remains her own simple pleasures, as she thinks with a happy, drooling grin. With wolf-like ears and a tail, she celebrates having an abundance of honey bomb candy. Narration reveals Alicia Arden is a lazy but talented swordswoman who just wants to try on pretty clothes. Alicia revels in her freedom from endless training, duels, and most importantly, her sister, Kia. While she happily dances with new clothes, Corinne's sudden appearance startles her into a panic. Flustered, Alicia stammers his name, and he explains he's been busy with assignments and missions. Corinne beams, inviting Alicia to join his party for a mission that will earn them a lot of money. Alicia cries in frustration, wondering why Corinne keeps seeking her out, making him difficult to avoid. Standing among her new clothes, the true face of the genius swordsman's granddaughter is revealed. She recalls Corinne's harsh training methods, which focused on basics when she just wanted to learn cool moves. Corinne offers her a second-rank mission for 2 gold coins, leaving Alicia completely stunned by the reward. When he asks if she wants to go, she eagerly accepts, and he tells her to prepare for next week. He then suggests a short-term mission for today worth 20 silver coins, and Alicia's eyes turn to dollar signs. Corinne smirks, realizing Alicia is motivated solely by money and that this will be enough for his scenario. His eyes narrow, as he predicts that the pivotal event he's been waiting for will happen today. Alicia's mission is simple: patrol a designated route through the city and check for problems. Though the likelihood is minimal, there's a rare chance of encountering mid-level monsters. After easily dispatching some beasts, a party member tells Alicia to gather the valuable parts, a simple task she enjoys. Wow. The party's knights are amazed, praising Alicia for instantly defeating 10 monsters by herself. Alicia soaks in the praise with a smugly satisfied smile, enjoying the attention. In a painful memory, family elders praise her sister Lunia Arden as a genius while dismissing Alicia as an illegitimate child. Defiantly, Alicia reaffirms her own self-worth, deciding she's not so bad after all. Corin casually mentions defeating an owlbear, and a flustered Alicia can only offer amazed praise. Boom! An unexpected green firework explodes in the sky, signaling that the routine mission is about to change. A knight explains it's a secret signal from the guards, visible only with their goggles, and urges them to move. Crying, Alicia realizes she won't be getting off work early, as the signal means she must join a raid. Cheer. While the other knights are confident with Alicia on their side, Corin smirks, his prediction proving correct. The patrol group has discovered a nest of second-rank monsters, centered around a powerful werewolf. The monster horde is sliced to pieces, another seemingly easy victory for the team. Grr! A far more sinister foe appears from the darkness, a headless rider on a spectral steed. Alicia stares in horror, recognizing the legendary monster as a Dullahan. The terrifying first-rank monster, the Dullahan, looms over them with an ominous green aura. Cursing the situation, Alicia prepares to fight, knowing she must act despite not being ready. She draws her sword, channeling her energy into its glowing blade. She unleashes a powerful attack, the Arden-style one-slice. Her ultimate technique, the territory cut, slices through the air toward the monster. To her disbelief, the Dullahan's spectral body contorts with inhuman flexibility, completely dodging her attack. A green-haired woman emerges from the Dullahan's ethereal form, shocking Alicia. The woman lunges with blinding speed, forcing Alicia to realize she's fighting a first-rank monster. All her pride gone, Alicia desperately screams for Corin to save her. Wah! A knight informs her that Corin is fighting a different monster, leaving Alicia to cry out in despair. The monster's bladed attack closes in on a terrified Alicia. She braces for impact, crying out as the blow lands. Crack! A skull shatters into pieces. Alicia looks up in confusion as the remains of a monster's helmet fall in front of her. Before she can react, she is suddenly grabbed and constricted by a tentacled beast. Pinned to the ground, she starts to thank her rescuer but stops short when she sees the unfamiliar sword. A flashback reveals the face of the Arden family's eldest daughter, hailed as the next sword genius. A defeated Alicia looks up from the ground, shocked to see her rescuer is Lunia Arden, her sister. The narrative confirms the imposing figure is indeed Alicia Arden's older sister. As the beast's tentacles retract, Alicia cries out when Lunia coldly asks what pathetic state she's in. Lunia scolds Alicia for not backing up when she saw the Dullahan, and for failing to analyze the enemy. She continues her harsh critique, asking whose sloppy swordsmanship Alicia was trying to copy. Alicia starts to apologize, but Lunia cuts her off, stating that excuses don't absolve her of responsibility for her actions. Lunia lectures Alicia that her casual actions endangered the soldiers who trusted her, while a knight checks on a comrade in the background. Grabbing Alicia's shoulders, Lunia's stern command makes her flinch in fear. Alicia trembles, meekly responding, "Yes, ma'am," to the intimidating Lunia standing over her. Lunia then turns her attention to a spear-wielding Corin, who wonders if he's been caught. Lunia questions Corin's actions, accusing him of watching Alicia while pretending to be busy. She formally introduces herself with her full titles, Divine Sword, Great Disciple, and First Sword Pavilion Master, Lunia Arden. Corin respectfully bows, introducing himself as Corin Lausch, a disciple of the 8 Hanging Spears and Alicia's friend. Lunia questions his claim of being just a friend, as Corin internally anticipates her true line of questioning. Corin thinks to himself that he cannot reveal his spearmanship, as only 2 other people use the same style. A vision reveals 2 powerful, shadowy figures, the only others who know his unique spearmanship. Deciding not to press him, Lunia tells Corin it's fine, as a subordinate reports that all monsters in the area have been dealt with. A swordswoman named Jenny asks if they should pursue the fleeing monsters, flanked by her comrades Lena, Sirin, Milia, and May. Lunia dismisses the idea, ordering her squad to return, and they promptly acknowledge her command. Lunia suddenly calls out to Alicia Arden, startling her from behind. The scene transitions to a group of uniformed swordsmen, as narration explains the gangster-like nature of sword factions. Narration continues, explaining that these factions follow their leaders and eventually consider themselves a sect. This system is how the Arden family became a renowned force, establishing the Merkaba Arden Studio. Inside the studio, Lunia casually orders someone fired while holding a small cup. She sits before a room of kneeling students, while a woman labeled as the Merkaba Art and Studios instructor stands by. In a flashback, Alicia formally kneels and greets Lunia as the first pavilion master. The other students murmur in disbelief, wondering why a direct descendant of the main family is being forced to kneel. Lunia reviews a list of missions, deeming them absurd, from patrols to a ridiculous cafe helper assignment. When questioned, Alicia explains the cafe mission involves wearing a uniform and handing out flyers, denying it was for a friend. Blushing furiously, Alicia confesses that she simply thought the uniform was pretty. Her repeated insistence that the uniform was pretty is met with an unimpressed, silent stare from Lunia. Lunia chastises Alicia for using her guardian certificate for such a trivial matter, asking if she's trying to sully the Arden name. Alicia recalls her dream of playing hero in easy, low-rank monster raids. A stern voice saying her name, Alicia, snaps her back to the harsh reality. An imposing, white-haired figure with glowing eyes sternly reminds her not to forget her duty. Defeated, Alicia bows her head in silence. Back in the present, Lunia walks away as a caged carriage is wheeled into the forest. A subordinate notes, Alicia seems healthy, but Lunia scoffs, asking if anyone knew about Cornan. The subordinate dismisses Corin as a mere 5th-rank knight. Lunia finds this unbelievable, questioning the reliability of the Academy's rank test. She reflects on how Corinne's focus was entirely on Alicia, showing a level of experience born from real battles. Lunia realizes that his seemingly simple spearmanship is something only an expert of the Arden style could truly appreciate. A silhouette of Corinne demonstrates the perfect form and ultimate destination of his technique. Lunia smirks, satisfied by her encounter with Alicia's friend, and considers the possibility of him staying by her sister's side. In a different setting, Corinne is presented with a table full of potato dishes made by Mariette. Corinne smells fresh mutton in the pie, and a blushing Mariette explains she practiced with it after helping a professor. Crying tears of pure joy, Corinne is deeply moved by how delicious the food is, a welcome change from his vampire diet. Mariette eagerly asks if he likes braised oxtail, promising to bring him beef next time, and startling him with her enthusiasm. Corin smiles, saying he likes it very much, prompting a flustered Mariette to clarify if he meant the oxtail. Promising to bring oxtail next time, a blushing Mariette shyly compliments Corin's large, scarred hands, calling them cool and mature. Flustered, Mariette grabs Corin's hand, leaving them both stunned and speechless. Mariette panics and flees, calling out to a woman named Isabel, while insisting to Corin that she did nothing. Watching her go, Corin nonchalantly finishes his bite and muses that he doesn't understand kids these days. As he reflects on his lack of dating experience, Corin bitterly blames someone he calls that park fucker. Corin recalls studying the Ogham alphabet with a woman named Yuel, who often brings him rare mushrooms from the forest. He also remembers joining a man named Drawn for difficult missions, believing Drawn sees him only as a useful colleague. Back in the present, his classmate screams in terror, a common sight for Corin. Startled by the scream, Corin grits his teeth, instantly assuming a monster has appeared. A woman in a nun's habit, Huardan, appears before him and simply says, "Promise." Corin questions Huardan about a food promise, internally acknowledging she's a monster in her own right. He remembers hanging upside down to give her cake a month ago, promising a meal and impressed that she recalled it. Using a forgotten assignment as an excuse, Corin tells his friends he can't join them today. Corin takes Huardan to a fish-themed building, explaining he brought her because she reminds him of a cat. Wah! Huardan opens her mouth to swallow a whole fish, prompting a shocked Corin to ask if her throat is as stubborn as she is. Huardan confidently tells Corin that he must chew and eat, declaring it respectful to food. With a grin, Corin presents a bowl of rice, lecturing her that true respect is appreciating food with your eyes and nose first. A blushing Huardan seems to take his lesson to heart, quietly repeating the word, respect. Corin smiles as Huardan begins to eat, gently reminding her to eat slowly. Corin's eyes narrow with determination as he reveals his weapon is nearly complete, and the story's second part is about to begin. The scene transitions to a grand academy building, marking the introduction to the second part of the story. A blonde-haired student cries hysterically, wailing that he didn't study for the exam at all. His deskmate chides him for regretting it now, but he whines that she should have scolded him more. When asked if he studied, Corin flashes a sinister, vampiric grin and says he doesn't need to. Corin smirks, confident he will rank number 1 because this isn't his first time taking this exam. An instructor announces the beginning of the exam, telling the students to turn over their papers. Korin smiles brightly, eagerly looking at his test and readying himself to begin. A student named Jaeger yawns, asking if the exam is over, while his classmate asks Korin how he did. Jaeger slumps over a blank answer sheet, admitting he only answered 1 or 2 questions before sleeping. Korin reflects that in his past life, he only researched skills and never studied the knowledge of this world. He furiously crumples his test paper, frustrated by his inability to handle a written exam. Students gather in a massive festival conference hall for the next part of their midterm exams. The faculty exam is introduced as a chance for students like Korin to redeem their poor written scores. The exam pits teams of 15 students against professors and temporary instructors. Confident his instructor will be weak, Korin schemes to defeat them for extra points. Other students react with shock and fear, making Korin wonder who the instructor is. A voice asks Korin if he's been well, leaving him confused as he stands ready for battle. A woman in a sharp suit approaches, recognizing Korin Locke as they meet once again. Korin stares in pure horror, cursing his luck and demanding to know why she is here. The announcer reveals that the special guests for the test are elites from the renowned Arden swordsmanship family. The Arden swordsmen discuss taking it easy, but are wary of a powerful sword control sorcerer among the students. As the students charge, Draw notes their team has a chance with 2 second rankers, himself and Alicia. The lead swordswoman takes her stance, initiating an Arden-style sword formation. The 5 Arden elites unleash a powerful combo technique. The students are blown away by the overwhelming force of the attack. Drawn assesses the situation, realizing the experts instantly broke their vision and defenses. Determined to counter, Drawn gathers magical energy, preparing to secure a clear view for his team. A swordswoman named Milia, the Phantom Sword, lunges through the air to intercept Drawn. Drawn parries her strike, realizing the elites are ambushing his team's key players. A masked swordsman warns his distracted teammate to stay focused as she cries out Drawn's name in alarm. The high-speed sword, Jenny, engages another student, declaring herself the girl's opponent and leaving her stunned. An Arden swordswoman confidently states that while there are 15 students, her 6 elites are more than enough. Wah! Jenny swiftly kicks a student off balance, coolly critiquing her unstable posture. Jenny continues her assault, bringing her sword down on the defeated student. The watching crowd gasps in admiration, praising the elite skill of the Arden 5 swords. More students are cut down in a flurry of motion as one panics, shouting for his comrades to do something as they fall one by one. Amidst the chaos of defeated students, narration reveals that what seemed like a one-sided slaughter was actually the opposite. Drawn unleashes his own magical swords, his experience allowing him to stand against the 5 swords. As the dust settles, Milia finds herself overwhelmed by Drawn's 5 magical swords, signaling his impending victory. The scene shifts with the clash of steel, turning the focus to Alicia's fight. A gray-haired swordswoman scolds Alicia for her lackluster skill, questioning her claim as the Sword Emperor's heir. Holding her blade to Alicia's neck, she tells her she should drop out and train at home rather than graduate. Refusing to accept defeat, Alicia defiantly pushes back, screaming that she won't let that happen. Gasp! Alicia's eyes glow as she attempts to activate her territory ability. The swordswoman easily sidesteps the attempt, reminding Alicia to stay focused until the very end. Looking on, Korin internally notes that originally, Lunia Arden was supposed to be the one testing Alicia in this storyline. A new, powerful instructor with a warhammer now stands before the remaining students, replacing the Arden elites. Crackling with purple energy, she tells the students to begin, framing the exam as a special rank war. The remaining students stand frozen in silence before their new opponent. A terrifying silhouette reveals her true nature, a monstrosity capable of taking on an army. Korin sweats, recognizing her as a monster most guardians never face, whose power would sound like a mere bluff if told by others. But when it comes to her, the story is completely different, as she radiates overwhelming power. She unleashes a devastating attack, as Korin's narration clarifies this is Lunia Arden, a warrior who can fight such monsters head-on. The ground shatters from the force of her attack as the students scream in terror. Hiding behind a pillar, Corinne observes the utter chaos as students lie defeated across the battlefield. Huff, huff! Jaeger complains that the examiner is overdoing it, but then convinces himself she must be going easy on them. Corinne points to a limp body Jaeger is carrying, who introduces him as Lark. Corinne bluntly observes that he looks dead already. A classmate warns Corinne not to faint, as Jaeger is suddenly blasted away, crying out in shock. Corinne understands Lunia's mindset. The students are simply too subpar to receive her guidance. Lunia appears before Corinne, stating that he is the only one left. Raising his spear defensively, Corinne asks if he can surrender, but Lunia knows he won't settle for the lowest score. She challenges him directly, stating he wouldn't waste the rare opportunity to fight a powerhouse. Corinne smirks, internally acknowledging that her overwhelming presence is unmistakably that of Lunia Arden. He recalls his past life, where he and Lunia fought side by side as comrades many times. He remembers being no match for her then, as a memory shows him facing her in a past battle. Gripping his spear, Corinne resolves to fight her seriously this time, taking the place of a player. As Lunia charges forward, Corinne greets the challenge with an eager, "Great." Their weapons collide with explosive force, Corinne gritting his teeth against her immense strength. The impact echoes through the arena. Corinne skillfully dodges a rapid succession of sword strikes from Lunia. Hup! He deftly parries a powerful slash, redirecting her momentum. Ugh! He struggles to block a heavy downward blow, the force pushing him back. As they clash again midair, onlookers question how a supposed 5th-rank knight can fight on even terms with her. One of the Arden elites watches in utter disbelief, unable to comprehend how this is possible. Phew, Corinne breathes heavily, as Lunia notes that he's already drained of energy. Lunia sheathes her sword, making Corinne wonder if she thinks he has proven himself. He instantly realizes that's impossible. She's not done yet. Unleashing her lethal intent, Lunia challenges Corinne to show her a worthy counter with his spearmanship. She vanishes in a blur, moving with incomprehensible speed across the ground. Corinne senses the immense pressure approaching from behind, his hair standing on end. The remaining students watch in horror, screaming that her attack is far too dangerous for an exam. The instructors shout in panic, demanding the test be stopped as they question if Lunia is trying to kill a student. An older instructor attempts to intervene, crying, "Stop right," but is frozen as a beam of energy slices past his face. With a flash in her eye, Lunia unleashes her technique. Arden-style one-slice, fake territory cut. The technique manifests as a ghostly, multi-armed swordsman, a blur of deadly motion. Corinne braces himself, declaring that he is pushing his spear forward at full speed. As his spear tip vibrates intensely, Corinne curses, realizing the overwhelming power he's facing. Trapped in a frozen world, Corinne grins, knowing that while he can't move, he can perceive its stillness. He recalls a past battle against a monster named Mariette, wondering if this moment is just a coincidence. With a flash of insight, he rejects the idea of coincidence, knowing he needs to take just one step. As his spear nears her sword, he focuses, thinking that his counter doesn't have to be perfect. He just needs to take one step forward, precisely timing his strike against hers. Lunia's eyes widen in utter shock at his unexpected counter. Boom. Their weapons collide, creating a massive explosion of force that rocks the arena. The stunned instructors realize what they're witnessing is instinct, not knowledge, a sensation of omnipotence. With her blade glowing and eyes alight, Lunia stands ready amidst the dust. Corinne's eyes glow red as he declares his entry to the territory. Sheathing her sword, Lunia advises Corinne to get a better spear, noting his gear is too weak for his skills. A young woman, Alicia, kneels in terror, surrounded by a dark aura as a voice questions her name. Lunia realizes Corinne's true motive. He didn't fight to win, but to showcase the territory to someone else. Corinne smirks, confirming her suspicion, and declaring that although he lost, he achieved his goal. Lunia announces she's staying in the city for work, and coldly warns Corinne not to interfere, claiming he can't change anything. Corinne stands alone in the destroyed arena, his broken spear by his side. Looking down, Lunia states her firm intention is to crush Alicia with her own hands. Corinne vows that, now that he has shown Alicia the territory, things won't go as Lunia Arden planned. With a menacing grin, Corinne repeats his vow, confident he has thwarted Lunia Arden's plans for Alicia. An announcer declares that by unanimous decision, Corinne Locke has earned full marks and maximum additional points. The other students murmur in disbelief, wondering who he is to have fought Lunia Arden alone and won. Even the watching instructors are shocked, questioning how a supposed 5th-rank knight could face Lunia one-on-one. The elderly instructor thoughtfully realizes that Corin is the student who attempted to capture the spirit bodies. An instructor with sunglasses removes them, baffled by how Corin is able to perform such feats. Crack! He crushes his sunglasses, angrily questioning if Corinne is somehow using his own techniques. Transitioning to a blacksmith shop, Corinne narrates that he felt the need for a good weapon even before Lunia's advice. A muscular blacksmith asks how Corin knew his family's secret methods, but Corin evasively replies he did a lot in his past life. Corinne thinks about the rarity of the ingredients, which cost hundreds of gold coins that players rarely have in cash. Having acquired special soul dust and a silver runestone, he presents the materials to a bowing attendant. He smiles confidently, knowing he's about to forge one of the few weapons capable of handling the territory. Corin holds his new legendary weapon, the Shadow Kingdom's Silver Knight's Spear, which glows with immense power. The scene shifts to a flashback of a horrified Alicia, who panics as a monster's non-lethal wound won't stop bleeding. The memory shows a gruesome battlefield, littered with the dismembered bodies of monsters in a sea of blood. Alicia recalls cutting down a 5th-rank monster, grimacing as its blood and intestines spilled out. She remembers her own defeat, lying helplessly amidst the carnage. Back in the moment, she stands over a monster, realizing she instinctively knew how to fight despite it being her first time. She trembles, holding a bloody sword, overwhelmed by the intense scent of death. A fragmented vision shows her own terrified, blood-splattered reflection. Her eyes refocus, stealing her resolve in the present. The scene changes to Huaran on a tram, heading to work as a mission to capture a werewolf appears. When an urgent mission to hunt a vampire pops up, Huaran throws her hands up, shouting that she hates dangerous things. It's hinted there's an underlying reason she chose the werewolf mission, as she thoughtfully prepares her gear. In a flashback, a shadowy figure of her savior leans over her, as she wonders where he is now. On the tram, Huaran dismisses a 5th-rank knight as a mere porter before grumbling about having to pick up after brats. On a tram, Corin cheerfully greets Alicia, who returns a quiet hello. 2 other guardians scoff at the 5th rank. As narration explains, the quota system forces them to tolerate students. Corin takes Alicia's hand, telling her he's relieved she's with him. The other guardians glare with burning red eyes. But Corin knows they won't act in front of the Sword Emperor's granddaughter. Corin asks Alicia about her eyes, but she deflects. He insists she knows what he's really asking. Alicia wonders if Lunia told him, but Corinne's narration confirms his sister said nothing. He warns Alicia to hurry, revealing Lunia is serious about destroying her so she can never wield a sword again. Alicia says she can just quit if that happens, but Corinne's silence is telling. With a determined gaze, Alicia asserts that she doesn't think she'll be able to stop fighting. The scene shifts to a quiet, leafless forest as a new event begins. The capturing party stands over defeated hounds, with a caged werewolf loaded onto a truck. Suddenly, the party is swarmed by monsters emerging from a dense fog, shouting in confusion and panic. A guardian named Hansen is asked about the 5th-rank kid, but he yells back that they have bigger problems. Alicia, referred to as Lady Arden, expertly cuts down several monsters in a fluid motion. The party is horrified to discover they are fighting a mix of monsters and glowing blue evil spirits. Sweating, a young man realizes the unnatural gathering of spirits feels man-made. A massive, shadowy knight with glowing red eyes emerges from the fog, startling Alicia. Someone screams for help as their weapon clashes with the knight's, shocked by its immense weight. Alicia warns the armored knight to stand back, but it only responds with a piercing screech. Corin's eyes widen in sudden realization. The knight throws its axe with brutal force, sending a screaming Alicia flying backward. The menacing figure looms over the fallen Alicia, preparing for a final blow. With fierce determination, Alicia glares up at her attacker, refusing to back down. Alicia unleashes a powerful, cross-shaped slash, cutting through her armored opponent. Splattered with blood, she stares in disbelief at what she's just done. She watches, stunned, as the knight's bisected body falls to the ground. The horrifying realization dawns on Alicia. She just killed someone. Frozen in terror, Alicia can only watch as another armored figure charges at her. A glowing spearhead suddenly erupts from the knight's head, stopping it cold. Corinne appears beside Alicia, calmly telling her that these creatures aren't people. As Alicia questions him, Corin impales another knight, explaining they are corpses animated by black magic. Holding up a severed head, Corinne announces the start of the Fog City's murderous vampire subjugation. He reveals that choosing the werewolf mission triggered an event involving a serial killer Mariette failed to catch. Alicia scans the chaotic battlefield and spots a new threat in the distance. A menacing, cloaked figure with glowing red eyes materializes before them. Corinne steps in front of a terrified Alicia, telling her to get ready to run. An ominous red energy fills the air as the number 6 appears. Corinne unleashes a 6-step technique called Pagoda Tree Mountain, striking the cloaked figure with blinding speed. Boom! The attack sends the figure crashing into a massive tree with incredible force. The party members are stunned by Corinne's power, though one incorrectly assumes the enemy was just weak. Corinne knows this wasn't the main boss, thinking it would be impossible to catch a foe named John Doe alone. A voice commends Corinne for destroying his doll, vowing to meet again, as Corinne notes the real threat is his stealth. A massive wave of crimson fog erupts from the defeated doll, causing the party to panic. Corinne identifies the phenomenon as crimson haze, a skill triggered when the source, an undead mage, reaches 0 HP. The source of the red mist is revealed to be the skeletal remains of a mage, now reanimated. Corinne explains the enemy is hard to track because he uses dolls and can assimilate with the fog. Realizing the danger, the entire party begins to flee from the encroaching crimson fog. A party member worries about Corinne leaving his expensive spear behind, but he dismissively says it's fine. Embedded in the fog, the spearhead begins to glow as the rune of return activates. The spear shoots out from the red mist in a brilliant flash of light. Corinne effortlessly catches his returning spear as a stunned Alicia calls the weapon incredible. K-Cack. As they flee, Alicia suddenly trips, and Corinne looks back in alarm. Ugh. A young man in a red cloak falls, cursing a root as someone yells his name Charlie. The party continues their desperate flight through the ominous, red-tinged landscape. Charlie grabs Alicia's hand to help her up, but she screams for him to dodge an unseen threat. A massive, thorny red tendril appears behind them, causing Alicia to gasp in confusion. Kia. The tendril ensnares Alicia and lifts her into the air as Corinne grimaces, calling the situation annoying. Corinne grabs a confused Charlie, telling him to forget this, run, and give him his robe. Now cloaked, Corinne leaps into the crimson haze with his spear, leaving a stunned Charlie behind. With a determined snarl, Corinne thinks to himself that he would do this twice if he had to. Narration reveals he entered a critical state in under a minute, but will last longer thanks to his new regeneration ability. Trapped in the tendrils, Alicia struggles fruitlessly while Corinne's narration identifies her as the real problem. Keika. Alicia screams as her blood is drained by the tendrils, and Corinne knows she won't last long. Fighting through the pain, Alicia resolves that all she has to do is cut these things off. Her sword fails to cut the tendrils, making her question her strength and posture. She looks at her blade, wondering if the problem lies somewhere else entirely. In a sudden vision, a woman in a suit looks down on her, coldly asking about her pitiful state. Her sword remains useless within the crimson energy, a symbol of her powerlessness. With grim realization, Alicia concludes that the reason for her failure is simply because she's weak. Filled with regret, she apologizes, lamenting that she just wanted to save someone and be cool. In a flashback, she recalls her savior, wishing to become a respectable person in his eyes. A voice screams Alicia as she drifts into unconsciousness. A cloaked figure, Corinne, soars through the crimson sky toward her. Hearing the familiar voice, Alicia's eye widens in recognition. Corinne's determined silhouette appears through the haze. The reflection of her approaching savior fills her gaze. Reaching out, a bloodied Corinne screams her name, and she weakly recognizes him as her savior. Corinne catches her, asking if she's okay, and she faintly confirms that it's him. Crying, Alicia tells Corinne the tendril won't budge and begs him to save her, afraid she is about to die. He gently touches her face, telling Alicia Arden to calm down. Corinne holds her hands on her sword, instructing her to focus and cut hard instead of striking randomly. As undead knights emerge from the fog, Corinne asks if she understands what she has to do. Alicia cries that she lacks the power and is too dizzy, but Corinne insists, "You can do it. He tells her that she has remarkable talent and can succeed if she truly decides to. With a bloody but confident smile, Corin tells her, "One step is enough." His words resonate with Alicia as a single, determined tear traces a path through the grime on her cheek. Corin turns to face the approaching horde alone, thanking them in advance for the fight to come. Alicia thinks that if even Corin can't last long, then she, with a weaker aura, has no chance. Her expression hardens as she thinks that if he has such faith in her, then she, with renewed resolve, Alicia grips her sword, declaring she has no choice but to succeed. She resolves to awaken her grandfather's secret technique, one capable of cutting anything. Eyes of the Boundary, a cursed power that lets one see into other territories. In a cosmic void, Alicia closes her eyes, focusing her power inward. All the tears, blood, and emotions she has witnessed will become fuel for one step into a new realm. As a single foot stands firm in the void, a voice tells her, "It's one step." Alicia Arden. With a single step, she sends blue ripples through the cosmos. One step is all she needs. A new power awakens as her eye glows with a blue, star-like energy, the Arden style. The horde of undead charges at her through the starry void. A wave of freezing energy washes over the undead, instantly shattering them. A brilliant flash of blue power marks the end of the undead horde. A new power is unleashed, Domain Severance. As Alicia Arden attacks from above, Corin prepares his spear below in a dynamic clash of blue energy. A hooded, skeletal figure recoils in shock, stammering, "How?" Glancing back with intensity, Corin asks if his opponent saw the attack. A volley of sharpened logs soars through the air, creating a deadly natural barrage. A massive, glowing slash of energy carves through the landscape with devastating power. Landing gracefully amidst the aftermath, a figure in a red cloak realizes the fog has completely vanished. Corin rushes to a woman in a red cloak to check if she is okay, while other men stand back, utterly confused by what just transpired. A defeated, blood-soaked creature is identified as John Doe, the murderous vampire from Fog City. Staring at a perfectly bisected forest, Corin's companions are in disbelief, with one recognizing the attack as the legendary Domain Severance of the Sword Emperor. Corin panics internally, shocked that she was able to use such an advanced technique already. Alicia, battered but beaming, proudly tells Corin she succeeded, while he mentally screams that it shouldn't be possible yet. The onlookers erupt, realizing that since only the Sword Emperor could use Domain Severance, Alicia must be the next head of the Arden family. Yay, yay! As the crowd cheers for Alicia as the future Sword Emperor, she happily calls out to a horrified Corin, who laments the complete derailment of his plans. Overwhelmed by the cheering, Corin grits his teeth in anguish, wondering why his plans are always getting twisted. Newspapers explode with the news. John Doe has been defeated by Alicia Arden, a candidate for the Arden family head, while the current Sword Emperor Garand remains silent. More articles question the Arden succession, featuring an exclusive interview where an anonymous source confidently calls Alicia the family's true genius. An orange-haired woman snarls and crumples a newspaper in her fist, muttering, "How cocky." Ah, yes. She coldly orders her attendants to dispose of the news. A woman with dark skin and long black hair calmly sips her tea, seemingly unfazed by the commotion. The narration explains that beneath the overwhelming charisma of Garand Arden, everyone has been anticipating his successor. Garand Arden has long awaited a worthy heir to continue his legacy. In a flashback, a woman named Lunia, hailed as a generational genius, lies defeated among others, having failed to satisfy the Sword Emperor. In the past, 2 young swordswomen spar fiercely in a dojo. Huff, huff. A young, panting Alicia holds a sword, her first time dueling her older sister as the family's illegitimate child. Lunia, her opponent, had never considered the younger girl a true competitor. Their blades clash in a flurry of motion during their duel. A glowing, diamond-shaped sigil appears in Alicia's eye as she focuses her power. Lunia's eyes widen in shock as she is caught completely off guard by her sister's attack. Looking at her bleeding hand on the floor, Lunia can only utter a confused "huh." Lying defeated on the ground, Lunia thinks she didn't see the final move. As a blood-splattered Alicia stands ready, Lunia realizes she couldn't see the attack at all. She had already been cut. She questions how a lazy child could possess such impossible skill. Despite the victory, Lunia notes that Alicia seems taken aback by her own power. Wait, A shocked Alicia realizes she finally understands the title her grandfather spoke of. A blood-stained, demonic grin spreads across her face as Alicia embraces her true nature, Sword Demon. Back in the past, Garand Arden places a hand on young Alicia's head, appointing her the next head candidate. A bright-eyed younger Alicia excitedly tells her sister it's her very first time holding a sword. In the present, Lunia sips her drink, quietly musing that Alicia is probably still out there. An attendant quietly addresses her as Pavilion Master. Her attendants ask if she is okay, and Lunia internally questions if they are worried about her. Lunia calmly tells her concerned followers not to worry. Her eyes glowing, Lunia believes that if she could witness that level of swordsmanship again, she too might be able to reach a higher state. Standing decisively, Lunia orders everyone to prepare the sword challenge. In a peaceful room, Corinne asks about someone's recovery time, and they reply that potions will have them healed in a day or two. Sitting up in bed, Alicia cheerfully offers Corinne a candy, prompting him to call her carefree. Corinne presses Alicia, asking how she managed to use domain severance when merely seeing a domain's boundary isn't enough. Blushing shyly, Alicia attributes her success to the fact that he believed in her. Woohoo! Alicia celebrates her success, while an astonished Corinne declares her a genius who completely defies the need for effort. Knock, knock. A knock sounds at the door as a voice announces a visitor. Wham! A blue-haired girl bursts through the door, yelling, "It's me! Junior, are you okay?" Corinne stands beside Alicia's bed as Mariette Dunliffe introduces herself, and Alicia awkwardly returns the greeting. Hey, Corinne gently pinches Alicia's cheek softly, telling her he was worried about her. Emanating a dark aura, Mariette asks if they are close, prompting a confused Corinne to wonder why she looks so scary. Corinne glances towards the window with a puzzled expression. Oh my god, he screams in terror as he sees a girl hanging upside down outside, who calmly mentions food. Corinne asks Mariette if she finds Huaren uncomfortable, though he thinks anyone would. With a menacing grin, Mariette asks if eating with Huaren is what made him uncomfortable, confusing Corinne. Corinne promises to prepare a wonderful meal with Mariette, causing her to blush in surprise. He realizes with shock that he's gathered an unexpected all-star team. Corinne warns a horrified Alicia that Lunia will likely issue a sword challenge soon. Alicia bursts into tears, wailing that she'll die because she can't even beat the 5 swords. Corinne reveals he has a method to help her, but on one condition, which she instantly accepts. He declares that from now on, she's his fixed party member and must train without complaining. Huaren watches silently as Alicia desperately pledges her allegiance, which Corinne accepts as a vow. Corinne Locke solemnly declares he will act based on the truths learned through his hardships. His voiceover continues as a red-haired woman confidently walks down a quiet, moonlit street. She's suddenly startled as a blade flies past her head, shouting, What the? She demands to know who's there as a figure approaches from the shadows. Her attacker calls her a challenger, leaving her utterly bewildered. The challenger is Huaren, who introduces herself as a master of the Alicia knife style, shocking the woman. The two clash as the woman demands to know why Huaren is suddenly attacking her. Huaren calmly explains that someone promised to buy her sushi if she succeeded. Their fight is interrupted by a man with a polearm, sending sparks flying through the air. Surrounded and on the defensive, she demands to know what her attackers are doing. Corinne Locke reveals himself as the Guandao master of the Alicia dojo, proclaiming his motto is to strike first. Grinning with demonic intensity, he requests to learn from Master Wave Sword Lina. Lina stares in shock as Corinne Locke is formally introduced as the Alicia dojo's Guandao style master. The next master is introduced, Huaren, knife style master of the Alicia dojo. Dran Worski is revealed as the Alicia dojo's flying sword style master. A flustered Mariette Dunliffe is shown wielding a flaming sword as a member. Finally, Alicia Arden is introduced as the new headmaster of the Alicia dojo. Montage shows the complete and utter defeat of the 5 swords. A beaten Lina crouches on the ground, demanding to know why Corinne is doing this. KK, he grins sinisterly, explaining they need to raise their new dojo's fame. Newspapers report that the new Arden-style dojo has defeated the 5 swords, signaling an aggressive expansion. Narration explains the sword challenge is a test to choose the pavilion master and a way to crush competition. Corinne plotted to change this structure, manipulating events from the shadows. He has transformed the competition into a dojo challenge. Alicia stands alone in a large hall, surrounded by other sword wielders. She thinks that winning this will prevent her forces from being able to touch her. Alicia cries with gratitude, realizing Marriott paid for everything, but hoping the quest rewards will let her repay the debt. A confident woman approaches as a startled Alicia stammers, "S-sister." Lunia calls her foolish, knowing the dojo challenge wasn't her idea, which terrifies Alicia. Lunia correctly deduces it was Corin Locke's plan, demanding an answer from a crying Alicia. Alicia trembles, wondering if she can possibly defeat her sister, Lunia Arden, the first sword pavilion master. Alicia formally introduces herself as the new master and proposes a friendly duel with her sister. Lunia coolly accepts the friendly duel but offers a stern warning. She clarifies that she doesn't use non-lethal weapons, but a determined Alicia responds that she is prepared. In a tense duel, Alicia Arden faces a formidable woman with long, dark hair. A woman with blue hair contemplates that even as a full-power vampire, she can't guarantee victory against Lunia. She looks to a man with dark hair, asking if Alicia is ready, and he expresses his complete faith in her. Smiling brightly, she tells him that she trusts his judgment. With a commanding presence, Lunia tells Alicia to take this. The man catches a pouch tossed by Lunia, questioning if it's for dojo repairs, which she denies. A foot stomps down hard, signaling the start of the fight. Their swords clash in a brilliant explosion of blue and white light as the duel begins. The energy from their colliding blades intensifies, radiating outwards in powerful waves. The two spectators gasp in absolute shock at the sheer power of the duelists. An immense blast of energy erupts from the dojo, shattering the roof completely. Lunia holds her blade to a defeated Alicia's throat. Alicia recalls how she once admired Lunia, who was her idol and inspiration. In a flashback, she remembers the cheers for the heroic Lunia, while she felt like a shameful reminder of her father's mistake. A young Alicia excitedly congratulates Lunia on her victory. Lunia gently pats the young Alicia's head, kindly remarking on how much she has grown. The memory brings tears to Alicia's eyes in the present. With a fierce glare, Lunia readies her glowing sword for another round. Lunia instructs Alicia to take one step back to receive the first attack. Alicia is surprised as she blocks an unexpected regular guard. She grits her teeth, realizing Lunia won't expect her to use tricky, irregular moves learned outside the official curriculum. Alicia lunges forward, launching a counterattack that catches Lunia by surprise. Kayla Alicia stumbles backward as Lunia taunts her for her sloppy, cowardly footwork. Taking a deep breath, Alicia resolves to use her speed to confuse Lunia and strike from up close. She vanishes in a blur, dashing across the training hall floor. Utilizing advance forward, third form lightning, Alicia reappears to attack. Lunia turns with a focused gaze, ready to meet the assault. Alicia executes an upward slice, a technique called makiwaza. Sweating and desperate, Alicia lets out a determined yell. Lunia looks on with a flicker of surprise in her eyes. Twisting her body to evade, Lunia forces Alicia to realize she is fighting with her whole body, not just her sword. Lunia fluidly transitions from defense to offense, using the momentum to unbalance Alicia. She lands gracefully after her impressive physical maneuver. Calling to Alicia, Lunia's eyes glow with blue energy. Arg Lunia calls Alicia an idiot and lands a powerful blow, sending her reeling. Alicia defiantly asks if Lunia really thought she could be defeated with such simple tricks. Their blades clash once more in a furious burst of red energy. Alicia once again employs the makiwaza technique. Realizing everything is happening as Corin predicted, Alicia prepares for her next move. With a fierce cry, Alicia unleashes a powerful combo strike. Lunia notes Alicia's impressive counter, admitting to herself that the fight won't be too easy. Declaring Alicia is still inexperienced, Lunia sends her flying with a powerful kick. Cute Alicia grits her teeth, struggling to stay on her feet after the heavy blow. Lunia leaps high into the air, gathering a massive amount of blue energy for a powerful downward strike. Gritting her teeth, Alicia raises her own glowing sword to meet the overwhelming attack head-on. Their blades collide with immense force, creating a shockwave that ripples through the air. Alicia's eye widens in shock as she struggles to hold back Lunia's incredible power. Lunia cries out, stunned, that Alicia is actually beginning to match her strength. She realizes with astonishment that Alicia is now able to see the domain. A confident smile spreads across Lunia's face as she says, "Yes, of course." Clang! As their swords connect, Lunia yells that this determined fighter is the version of Alicia she wanted to see. Ha, ha. Alicia falls to her knees, panting and struggling to keep her grip on her sword. With a look of sheer grit, a battered Alicia rises to her feet, ready to continue the duel. Lunia calmly notes that victory is just one step away for Alicia, and decides to respond in full. Emanating a powerful blue aura, Lunia takes a combat stance, her eyes filled with deadly intent. Gritting her teeth, Alicia mirrors her sister, unleashing her own crackling blue aura in response. The two warriors lunge at each other, their clash of power obliterating the courtyard wall behind them. Lunia's gaze intensifies as she channels an immense amount of energy into her next devastating attack. A flashback shows a young, beaming Alicia declaring her dream to become a great swordsman just like Lunia. As Corin watches intently, Alicia's face contorts with effort as she prepares to meet her sister's ultimate technique. A glowing diamond sigil appears in Lunia's eyes as she focuses her power for a final decisive strike. The two distinct sword styles, represented by sharp, intersecting blades of energy, move to intercept each other. A brilliant, star-like flash of light signifies the cataclysmic impact of their ultimate attacks. Lunia unleashes the legendary technique Domain Severance with breathtaking power. In a shocking display of genius, Alicia perfectly mirrors the attack, unleashing her own Domain Severance. Boom! The two identical, world-splitting attacks collide, creating a massive, blinding explosion that engulfs the arena. Watching the fallout, a blue-haired girl beside Corinne anxiously asks if the duel is finally over. Through the dissipating dust and smoke, a lone figure stands victorious over their fallen opponent. The smoke clears to reveal a triumphant Alicia standing over the defeated Lunia, who kneels on the ground. Alicia won. Corinne, the blue-haired girl, cheers excitedly as he watches with a satisfied smile. Corin smirks, revealing his calculation that the only path to victory was to fight within the domain itself. In a flashback, Corinne appears to be giving Alicia crucial instructions for her battle. The devastating attack resulted in Lunia's sword being cleanly cut, leaving her staring at the broken blade. Staring at her defeated sister, an overwhelmed Alicia can only gasp out the word, defeat. Turning to leave, Lunia quietly asks if her own performance was not good enough to satisfy Alicia. Lunia declares that she and her followers will no longer interfere, beginning to walk away as Alicia watches in panic. "Hey, Lunia!" A desperate Alicia cries out, reaching for her sister and begging her to wait. Alicia trembles, thinking with dread that her incredible power must have truly scared her sister. The narration explains Alicia's terror at Lunia's cold attitude as she turns her back and walks away. Lunia stops and gently places a hand on Alicia's head, causing her to flinch in surprise. Looking down at her sister, Lunia softly reassures her that her fear is a pointless worry. Corin recalls meeting Lunia much earlier than he did in the original story he remembers. In that timeline, Lunia had searched tirelessly for Alicia's murderer, never knowing the true culprit was Park Sihu. Corin remembers finding Lunia at Alicia's grave on the 3rd anniversary of her death, a testament to her unending search. In the past, he questioned her grief, but a crying Lunia admitted that despite her complicated feelings, she did hate her sister. Corin reflects on Lunia's pained memories of Alicia being lazy and clingy, understanding there was more beneath the surface. Lunia had tearfully declared that only she could resolve her sister's bitterness, accepting it as her sole responsibility. He realizes that Lunia never truly abandoned Alicia and would have supported her, even if she took the lead. Back in the present, Lunia gently strokes her younger sister's head with a quiet, understanding expression. Corin smiles knowingly, thinking of the true, caring Lunia Arden that he always remembered. Tears of relief streaming down her face, Alicia sobs her sister's name, overwhelmed with emotion. A quest completion screen appears, listing Alicia's rewards: an aura rank increase, more aura points, and mastery of Domain Severance. Corin muses that he too has a part of him that fights with a smile, just like Alicia. While bandaging Alicia's arm, Corinne listens as she admits she acted less serious out of fear, and he acknowledges others do the same. Alicia worries that becoming an official heir will make Lunia wary, and that if she runs away, their bond will break. Believing flight would sever their connection forever, she clenches her fist, resolving not to run. "It won't," Corinne interjects from his chair, telling a surprised Alicia that their bond won't be cut. He explains that while things might become distant or awkward, relationships aren't something you can cut so easily, since at the end of the day, you're still sisters, he says, bringing tears to Alicia's eyes. Corinne praises her for a job well done, flashing back to a time when he was beaten up by thugs as a child. In the flashback, Corinne tearfully clutches his head, remembering that the emotional torment was far worse than any physical pain. He tells Alicia she's much stronger than the weak child he once was, hoping she'll always remain proud of herself. Finding his words odd, Alicia calls him a strange person, which leaves him momentarily confused. Alicia asks why he acts so mature despite their similar age, prompting him to joke about looking old. She insists he feels like he's suffered, and he internally admits he's lived 14 more years, plus the memories of his 30-year-old self. Looking down with a gentle smile, Alicia thanks Corinne, who asks what for. She thanks him for the duel and for saving her in the forest, stretching happily while he looks on in surprise. In a flashback, a grievously wounded Alicia is held by a cloaked figure as she realizes it was Corinne who saved her. Corinne asks how she knew, and she playfully explains she guessed from his voice and belt, though he internally doubts she's that clever. Flustered, Corinne turns away as a beaming Alicia declares her indebtedness and offers to grant him any wish. Corinne simply extends his hand and asks Alicia to be his friend, leaving her stunned. He asks if she's against the idea, but a flustered Alicia eagerly agrees, admitting she's never had a male friend before. With a warm smile, Corinne formally welcomes her, saying, "Then let's get along, friend." Alicia beams with joy, expressing her happiness at gaining such a reliable friend. A brief flashback shows a younger, smiling Alicia holding a wooden sword as a hand affectionately pats her head. The scene transitions to a plate of artistically cut apples, signifying a new direction. An elegant chandelier comes into view, establishing the opulent setting of a new location. "My name is Isabel Carmen." A young man calls out to Mariette, who turns to face him with a pleasant smile. He drops to one knee, presenting a small box to a surprised Mariette. Opening the box, he reveals not a ring, but a bag of blood, which he enthusiastically offers to her. Watching from a doorway, a woman with glasses scoffs, thinking the suitor is an idiot for making Mariette uncomfortable with his offers. Corinne suddenly appears and places a hand on Mariette's shoulder, startling Isabel and causing her to drop her book. Mariette blushes intensely, her hand rising to her warm cheek. Corinne smirks confidently, as Isabel's inner monologue identifies him as a first-year student who has recently gotten close to Mariette. As Corinne and Mariette walk away, Isabel muses that while his talent is undeniable, something else about him is bothering her. Alone with Mariette near a doorway, Corinne softly asks if she would like some blood, making her blush with hesitation. Corinne pulls Mariette into a room and locks the door, leaving the woman with glasses outside in a state of utter shock. From outside the door, she overhears Corinne mention a proposal, sending her into a panic. Inside, Corinne calmly discusses a business proposal with Mariette, building an inn on their dojo's land, guaranteeing a massive profit. The woman outside fumes, infuriated that Corinne is trying to involve Mariette in a business scheme and wondering who he truly is. The scene shifts to a training room where Corinne finds Alicia doing stamina exercises. Alicia comments on Corinne's dedication to training, to which he replies that basics are crucial, all while the woman with glasses spies on them from above. An onlooker's thought bubble appears as Alicia trains, identifying her as the second daughter of the renowned Arden family. Corinne gives Alicia a voucher for a restaurant called Holy Panda, and she gasps in excitement, recognizing it as a famous establishment. The woman with glasses seethes, realizing Corinne is taking Alicia to a famous date spot right after being with Mariette. Her hand slams down with fury. As Corinne and Alicia walk on, he asks if she heard a noise, but she dismisses it and asks about his earnings. Overhearing their conversation about money, the woman with glasses trembles with rage, convinced Corinne is a complete philanderer. Later, Corinne enjoys a meal with Hwaran, asking if she finds the food as good as the sushi. He then casually asks Hwaran for investment money, which she agrees to, as the woman with glasses watches in horror, her concern now solely focused on Corinne. Her glasses crack as she has a shocking epiphany. Corinne Locke is an incredible scammer, and she screams in fury. A pristine white car drives by, signaling a shift in the narrative. A black limousine arrives, attended by several men in dark suits standing at attention. Narration reveals Alicia and Hwaran contributed significant funds from a raid reward and protester support. The recap of funds continues, noting that Yule, Lark, Jaeger, and especially the money-crazed bastard Drawn provided immense capital. A well-dressed figure steps out of the car, their polished shoe hitting the pavement. Beneath the night sky, Corinne's voiceover declares, "With that, I bought it." Corinne stands alone in a vast, empty field, facing the horizon, while his entourage waits by the limousine. Narration explains his plan. With tourist season approaching, they can build a lodging and make back hundreds of gold coins within weeks. Now dressed in a sharp suit and sunglasses, Corinne grins with supreme confidence, vowing to dominate the world's economy. In a grand office, a woman in a red mage's hat informs a seated chairman that the school standing with the Catholic Church, royal family, mage tower, and association is poor. The chairman states the issue is resolvable, and the woman pledges her order's full support, believing everyone deserves an opportunity. The chairman announces he's taking a leave of absence, telling a woman named Clara that the Catholic Church is not a safe place for her when she offers to go in his stead. He entrusts the place to Clara and departs as she quietly wishes him a safe trip. Now in charge, Clara adjusts her glasses, contemplating her new responsibilities. She begins sorting through proposals, disapproving an experiment on vampire regeneration and deferring the construction of a new dormitory. Amidst a mountain of paperwork, she uncovers a request from a familiar name, Corinne Locke. Reading the document, she's utterly stunned, wondering what outrageous plan he has cooked up this time. Her shock intensifies as she stares at the unbelievable request in her hands. The paper reveals Corinne's formal request for land to harvest mandrakes, leaving Clara completely bewildered. In a large, empty lot, a voice questions if this is really the place for harvesting mandrakes. Crouching by the plants, Corinne explains to a woman with brown hair that high-quality earplugs and ample space are essential to avoid the mandrake's deafening screams. Corinne puts on a pair of silver fox leather earplugs and asks if worker Alicia is ready. She eagerly salutes, declaring she's ready. Gulp Alicia nervously holds a trowel as Corinne grips a mandrake, explaining that its scream is endless unless the root is fully severed. Feeling a tap on his back, Corinne turns to see Alicia asking him what's wrong. With a maniacal grin, Corinne violently yanks a screaming humanoid mandrake from the earth. Key. The mandrake lets out a piercing shriek, its face contorted in agony. K-I-E-E-E-E-E-E-E-E-E. The sound erupts with incredible force. The sonic blast sends Corinne and Alicia flying as he yells for her to take her turn. "Show us your swordsmanship that even reached the demise," Corinne shouts in encouragement. Alicia is instantly incapacitated, foaming at the mouth. Corinne realizes the idiot failed to wear her earplugs correctly. Frustrated, Corinne declares he'll have to handle the rest alone. Grabbing another mandrake, Corinne defiantly challenges it, yelling that it's not the only one who can scream. Acknowledge. Corinne lets out a monstrous roar of his own, overpowering the mandrake's cry as Alicia lies unconscious. A mandrake is launched high into the air with a powerful swing. Corinne fluidly slices through the airborne mandrakes. He expertly snatches a falling mandrake out of the air. With fierce determination, Corinne orders someone to wake up. Corinne furiously shakes an oblivious Alicia, who dreamily asks if he slept well. "Do you want to die?" he roars in frustration. Phew. Exhausted, Corinne wipes his brow, admitting he wanted to harvest the silver mandrakes, but fears he'd collapse if he tried. As a blushing Alicia watches him, Corinne senses an arrival, wondering who ignored his no-entry sign. A girl with blue hair appears, whom Corinne immediately recognizes as Mariette. Mariette cheerfully explains she jumped down from the 12th floor because it was too noisy, leaving Corinne speechless. Mariette's expression darkens as she focuses on the scene before her. Radiating a menacing aura, Mariette demands to know what Corinne and Alicia are doing together. He quickly explains they're just harvesting mandrakes. When Mariette asks if they plan to harvest the rest, Corinne claims they're too tired, prompting Alicia to wonder what just happened. Mariette offers to finish the job, but Corinne tries to warn her of the difficulty for anyone who isn't a knight. Corinne watches in horror as Mariette effortlessly plucks a silver mandrake, panicking that she'll hear its deadly scream. Effortlessly silencing the plant, Mariette smugly reveals she owns a mandrake farm and has harvested 30 this year alone, completely dumbfounding Corinne. Mariette announces she will make a decoction and a stew, sending Alicia to fetch rabbit meat and potatoes. As Alicia runs off, Corinne wonders what's left for him to do, but a voice reassures him he needs to do nothing. Leaning in seductively, Mariette whispers that she'll take care of everything. Yay, Mariette. This is amazing. Corin cheers, overjoyed and grateful for her help. Alicia diligently tends to a large pot of stew bubbling over a fire. A dark herbal medicine is poured into a bowl as the narration wryly comments on the situation being typical of a K-game. Mariette finds Corin drawing on the ground and asks what he's doing. He replies that he was just bored while waiting. Looking closer, Mariette recognizes the drawings as rune characters, though she admits she doesn't know their meaning, only that she's seen them in class. She asks where he learned the dead language, and Corin solemnly replies that his master taught him. He reveals he learned both runes and the spear from his master until just a year ago, picturing a woman with white hair and a formidable spear. The memory reveals his master's back, adorned with a glowing, intricate tattoo. Narration reveals a final boss's goal was to retrieve an original rune, showing a battle between a shadowy figure and a woman. A woman in a maid outfit asks Corin about his master, and he nervously claims she's just a normal person, wondering if the maid is from the Mage Tower. In a memory, Corin recalls his master as a person who always does her best, silhouetted against a burning city. The maid observes Corin, noting that he seems rather affectionate when speaking of his master. She offers Corin potatoes, but their conversation is interrupted by someone loudly calling for a Diogu. A massive, muscular red creature with canine features appears, carrying a basket in its mouth. A title card identifies the creature as Diogu, an ex-vampire's orb, as Corin stares in disbelief. The maid explains that Corin's blood has fully bound the orb, creating a familiar, and she finds Diogu cute. Pant! Pant! Hearing he's cute, Diogu wags his tail and pants happily. The maid blushes, realizing if Diogu is made of Corin's blood, that technically makes him the father, a thought Corin had never considered. Declaring Corin Diogu's dad, she encourages him to play with his new familiar. Diogu stares at Corin with glowing red eyes, tongue lolling out in anticipation. Ack! Diogu energetically tackles Corin and other students as the maid watches, amused by the too active vampire dog. A pot of stew bubbles over a fire, looking delicious. Gulp! Corin eagerly eats the stew while a girl asks why he's so worn out, learning it's from playing with the unknown Diogu. A system notification confirms Corin's mana recovery and total mana have greatly increased, giving him named level stats. Corin offers the stew to the others, explaining the mandrake's powerful effect only works once, and they eagerly accept. A comical image of a pale fish-like creature expresses a look of absolute ecstasy. With a determined grimace, Corin resolves to consume the mandrake by the root. Hihiha wreathed in blue lightning, Corin explains that while others must train to create an aura core, he already has one. He muses that once he becomes a high ranker, he can gain even more cores, creating an astonishing double core state. As his companions stare in shock, Corin proudly announces he now possesses an aura core. His friend urges him to eat the gold mandrakes for another incredible boost, but he declines, saying he'll eat them later, leaving her confused. Corin smirks, cryptically agreeing that it's not good to have too many powerful herbs at once, though for a different reason than she assumes. A holographic display identifies 5th rank Knight Corin Locke. An older professor looks at the display, questioning the student's rank. In a meeting room, other professors debate Corin's reassessment, finding a 5th rank for a first-year student underwhelming. A professor suggests the others are unaware of Corin's performance during the first-year midterms. Instructor Haman reveals Corin fought Swordmaster Lunia Arden for 3 minutes, leaving another professor speechless. HMPH. A skeptical professor dismisses the feat, claiming Lunia must have gone easy on Corin in a simple midterm. The senior professor polls the room, asking if anyone truly believes Lunia Arden went easy on Corin Locke. After a moment of silence, he concludes that no one believes she did. A female professor argues that despite the evidence, they cannot officially acknowledge a promotion based on midterms alone due to regulations. A bandaged professor proposes a compromise: leave the official rank to the association and issue a guardian certificate, despite the scheduling difficulties. Another professor points out that since Instructor Haman brought up the matter, he should be the one to handle it. The senior professor strokes his chin, agreeing that this was his intention all along. A decision is made regarding Corin, as Haman thoughtfully repeats his name. Haman internally reflects that while 5th rank seems high for Corin's stats, his duel with Lunia and his spear technique were undeniably remarkable. Recalling an image of Corinne fighting alongside a shadowy figure, Haemon's thoughts trail off as he ponders the strange sight. Haemon adjusts his sunglasses, deeply contemplating the mystery surrounding the student. A cheerful Alicia finds Corinne in the classroom and greets him. Alicia excitedly takes the seat next to Corinne without waiting for an answer, prompting another student to comment on her audacity. Corinne informs her that the seat belongs to Jaeger, who suddenly appears behind her, causing a startled Alicia to apologize profusely. As Alicia scrambles to move, Jaeger gently stops her, telling her to stay, earning a swoon from a nearby student. Jaeger glares menacingly at Corinne, who asks why he's being stared at. Jaeger ominously asks him to guess why. A flashback shows Senior Potato, the Academy's most famous person, being admired. Another flashback shows Corinne delivering a cake to a cute girl from the demon tribe. Jaeger breaks down in tears, screaming in jealousy and asking why Corinne is the only one living in a dating simulation game. Wailing about his own lonely youth, Jaeger collapses onto his desk as Alicia wonders what's wrong with him. Instructor Haemon arrives with a cool pose, greeting the first-year students and announcing the start of class. A professor strides into the classroom, announcing the start of group projects. As the students groan in collective misery, he dismisses their complaints, insisting the projects will be helpful. He explains that the Night faculty's project will be simpler than those of the Magic faculty, channeling energy as he speaks. Snap. With a flick of his fingers, he unleashes his magic. Electrified papers shoot out toward the class as he instructs them to look at their assignment. As the professor announces the project's topic, Corinne's eyes narrow with intense focus. The assignment sheet displays a simple drawing of a martial artist practicing with a spear. Alicia cheerfully tells Corinne this will be easy for him, but he's stunned, recalling the topic was boxing in his past life. The narration reveals the professor is a boxer, known for his shadow techniques and precise movements. Realizing the professor, Fermac, intentionally changed the topic, Corinne grins, impressed by his quick thinking. From his seat, Corinne watches Fermac command the lecture hall from the podium. Fermac details the assignment. Each group must research and demonstrate a specific style of spearmanship. When a student complains about fairness, Fermac assures him he will adjust the grading criteria accordingly. He announces that groups of 4 will be formed randomly by drawing sticks. A cute illustration depicts the supposed ideal of random groups fostering student cooperation and friendship. A second drawing reveals the grim reality, a merciless game of chicken where Corinne is burdened by his teammates. Overwhelmed by traumatic memories of past group projects, Corinne slams his fist down in despair. His despair vanishes as he sees his new group, Jaeger, Alicia, and a nun, realizing this time is different. Jaeger relaxes, pleased to be grouped with Corinne, whom he considers a competent teammate. Alicia looks hurt as another student tries to bribe someone to switch groups, while the narration praises her prodigious skill. Corinne sizes up the final member, a nun named Hwaran, noting her rough attitude but hardworking nature. With a wicked grin, Corinne celebrates his good fortune, confident he can finally overcome his past failures. In the training room, Jaeger quietly confirms with Corinne that the expensive shock-absorbent walls are still intact. The team prepares to practice, but the pristine marble floor is already beginning to crack under the strain. Heek. Alicia recoils in horror after accidentally obliterating a wall with a single devastating punch. Hwaran seethes, internally raging at Alicia for destroying the room during a simple sparring session while looking completely innocent. Thrown out of the training room, a furious Corinne demands to know where they're supposed to practice now. The scene shifts to a quiet hall as the group begins their first reflection session. As the team sits in silence, Hwaran formally asks them to share their thoughts on the recent disaster. Alicia timidly apologizes for her lack of control, but Corinne praises her perfect form, which inspires him. Jaeger asks for advice on a spear technique, and Corinne encourages him, explaining it will improve his mace skills. Corinne turns his attention to Hwaran as she approaches with a tray of refreshments, asking for her opinion. She wordlessly offers the tray of wafers and wine with a single, blunt instruction: eat. When Corinne asks if it's communion, Hwaran explains it's part of her mandatory weekend service. Corinne observes that she is training with the Protestants, and she confirms it was not her choice. He gently suggests she read the scripture, believing there are valuable lessons to be learned from the saints. With a charming smile, Corinne preaches the scripture's core message: to love oneself and others. Alicia is visibly moved by his words, but Hwoarang scoffs, completely unimpressed. Changing the subject, Corin pointedly asks Hwoarang if she understands the cause of yesterday's failure. The sudden shift in tone leaves Alicia and Jaeger confused and concerned. Hwoarang coldly states her philosophy: practice is meaningless, as the weak will always be weak and the strong will be strong. Corin rises to his feet, capturing Alicia's attention with his sudden movement. He smirks at Hwoarang, telling her that only the truly strong can afford such a sentiment, catching her off guard. Corin proposes a bet. If he can make her kneel in 1 minute, she has to buy dinner. Hwoarang accepts, dismissing the need for a reward should she win, as something is bound to break anyway. Deciding the spot is fine, Corin casually drops his spear to the floor, ready to begin. Alicia and Jaeger watch in bewildered silence, wondering how a team meeting escalated into a duel. A nervous Jaeger prepares to officiate the sudden, high-stakes confrontation. The scene transforms into a vast, empty expanse as Corin and Hwoarang face each other, ready for battle. At Jaeger's signal, Corin explodes into motion, vowing to start with his most powerful techniques. Corinlock unleashes the Slithering Serpent, Calamity Serpent Intent technique against the nun. A powerful surge of energy blasts forward from his attack. The nun faces the attack head-on, acknowledging that he's as good as his reputation suggests. She counters with a kick, unleashing the technique Tiger Sweeping Wind, second step. Huh! Corinlock looks on in shock as his weapon shatters from the impact. The nun gracefully leaps over him, continuing her fluid assault. Looking up at her, Corinlock smirks, complimenting her impressive skill at destroying things. He activates 8 trigram steps playing body, effortlessly weaving through her flurry of attacks. Corinlock taunts her for failing to land a single blow, asking what's wrong as she grows visibly frustrated. She glares at him in silent fury, her only thought being how annoying he is. Warning him not to die, she charges forward, preparing to strike with her right fist. Corinlock knows a direct hit will put him in the hospital for a month and recalls advice to dodge. He dismisses the idea of dodging and decides to try blocking her attack instead. She unleashes her technique, 8 trigrams, linking chains, a powerful, energized strike. Corinlock grits his teeth in agony, feeling his muscles about to rupture despite perfectly blocking the blow. The nun is shocked, wondering why he didn't dodge her attack. Her eyes widen in surprise as the unexpected outcome unfolds. Using the momentum of her attack against her, Corinlock pulls her off balance, forcing her to a knee. He grins down at her triumphantly, declaring that she kneeled. She demands they go again, but Corinlock cheekily refuses, pointing out that he already won the fight. While she fumes and insists on a rematch, he casually repeats that he doesn't want to. He mockingly asks if she's angry, teasing that he can hear her trembling with rage. A few days later, Corinlock's hands tremble as he reads a note. "I'm sick. Do it without me," prompting him to yell that it's obviously a lie. He crumples the note in pure frustration. Arriving at a traditional-looking house, a voice welcomes him inside. With a sinister smile, Corinlock gestures toward a feast, inviting someone to dig in. The nun drools over the food as he smugly points out that she doesn't seem sick anymore. A beautifully prepared fish is presented as the centerpiece of the meal. Nom as she happily eats. She confirms she's not sick, and Corinlock cackles that it's no surprise. He dramatically flips the table, lecturing her that a chef's dish represents 10 years of dedication, not 10 minutes of effort. Plates of meticulously crafted gourmet food represent the years of mastery he's referencing. He explains his point. It took him 3 years of martial arts training just to make her kneel once. He compares the dedication required for his martial arts to that of preparing her favorite fish. A memory surfaces of him training with his spear alongside a white-haired woman. The nun listens silently, holding her piece of fish as he speaks. He smiles warmly and holds out a fish, asking if this means they've finally made up. Wham! She unexpectedly smacks him across the face with a notebook, leaving him stunned. Looking at the notebook now stuck to the fish, she realizes it's the research she had assigned to him. He cheerfully pats her head for finishing all the work, calling her a cutie, while she curtly tells him to get off. With their task complete, they now have enough material to prepare for the presentation. A professor addresses the class, announcing the start of the first week of group project presentations. Corinlock stands with his arms crossed, his group assembled and ready for their turn. A student named Pelé introduces himself as the leader of Group 1, presenting on 5-star spearmanship, and the professor asks for a demonstration. Group 1 performs a synchronized spear drill, while Cornlock's group observes, noting their good preparation. The professor praises Pelé for a job well done, and the student beams with gratitude. The professor suddenly changes his tone, declaring he will now test their formation himself, much to Pelé's shock. The professor's gauntlet crackles with energy as his title is revealed: Former Ellos Kingdom First-Ranked Knight. Enveloped in a menacing purple aura, the professor challenges the students to last just 10 seconds against him. He repeats the offer, promising full marks for the project if their formation can withstand his assault for 10 seconds. A new opponent, a professor with mechanical arms, unleashes his power, shocking a student into silence. Glowing with a brilliant blue aura, the professor rushes forward with incredible speed. Unleashing a southpaw boost combination, he moves like a blur, overwhelming his opponents. "He's so fast," Jaeger exclaims in disbelief as a fellow student realizes the professor isn't holding back. With a clipboard in his robotic hand, the professor begins his assessment, noting a lack of practice. He casually assigns a B- grade to the defeated group, asking if there are any objections. A student quietly says no. As the next group nervously approaches, students in the audience despair, wondering how they could possibly fight Professor Fermac. A student from the second group nervously declares they chose the deadly spearmanship of the North 9 Deadly Dragons because it sounds cool. Queek Fermac instantly defeats them with a single blast, declaring their elaborate technique useless if not properly learned. Watching the display, Corin smiles confidently, eager for his turn. Corin's group stands before Fermac, announcing they will showcase 8 trigram spearmanship. He curtly tells them to demonstrate. Jaeger masterfully executes Lan, a technique designed to deflect incoming attacks. Alicia powerfully demonstrates Na, a move for pinning an opponent's weapon. Huaren flawlessly performs Ja, a swift strike aimed at an unguarded opponent. Overcome with pride, Corin cries tears of joy, exclaiming they passed and praising Huaren's unexpected effort. Fermac looks impressed, commending their simple but excellent principles as he prepares to call the next group. Corin and his team look on in confusion as Fermac pauses, a strange tension filling the air. Fermac suddenly singles out Corin, stating that the real fight will be just between the two of them. Realizing this was Fermac's plan all along, Corin smirks and accepts the challenge. A purple light glints off Fermac's sunglasses as he announces the start of their duel. Fermac lunges with a devastating purple energy-infused punch called Rado, catching Corin by surprise. His fist glows with the power of his signature southpaw technique. Corin analyzes the attack, knowing that a typical fighter would block their right side. He notices Fermac's pivot isn't his right foot, but his left, confirming his suspicion. Corin perfectly parries the blow using the second step Lan Na Ja, having deduced Fermac is left-handed. Stunned by the perfect counter, Fermac wonders how Corin could have known his secret. Onlooking students are shocked, pointing out that Fermac's speed and movements have completely changed. An intense clash follows as the so-called 5th-rank knight meets the professor's full power. Streaks of purple and red light fill the hall as the two exchange blows at blinding speed. A student watches in awe, wondering how Corin is managing to keep up with Professor Fermac. Fermac realizes Corin's skill has already surpassed that of a mere student. He challenges Corin, demanding that he show him his true potential. Fermac specifically demands to see that spearmanship, hinting he knows Corin's true style. A purple aura surrounds Corin as he prepares to unleash his true power. Fermac throws another devastating punch, sending a shockwave across the room. The rest of Corin's team, Jaeger, Alicia, and Huaren, watch the intense battle in stunned silence. The dust from the powerful impact slowly begins to settle. In the aftermath, Fermac's golden fist is stopped just centimeters from Corin's face. Corin stands completely still, having blocked the incredible blow without flinching. Fermac stares in silence, his expression unreadable behind his sunglasses. A flashback reveals Fermac only used his right arm against the other students, deliberately hiding his dominant hand. Corin's narration confirms his counter was possible only because he already knew Fermac was left-handed. Fermac finally speaks, addressing Corin with the unexpected title of Martial Nephew. Having seen what he wanted, Fermac casually dismisses the class, calling for Group 3. He lectures the students that the basics are the true secret arts, not flashy techniques. Fermac turns, and acknowledges his opponent by his full name, Corinne Locke. His teammates erupt in cheers, celebrating Corinne's spectacular victory and skill. Jaeger boasts about being on the team of A plus Corinne Locke, as Fermac asks to speak with Corinne privately. Seated across from him, Fermac bluntly asks Corinne if he is really just a 5th-rank knight. Fermac states that Corinne's abilities don't align with his rank, and Corinne confidently admits, "I am pretty good." Fermac admits he cannot sense spirits and can only catch evil ones under certain conditions, making even a 5th-rank ghost a challenge. Corinne listens as Fermac explains that the Knight faculty has debated his case and decided he requires a formal reevaluation. Fermac informs Corinne he will undertake several missions to have his rank reassessed, with the unconventional possibility of reaching semi-first rank. Corinne smirks, realizing this opportunity means better pay and the freedom to choose the high-ranking missions he desires. A graphic illustrates that Corinne is being granted a privilege typically reserved for second-year students. Corinne accepts the challenge and asks for the details. Fermac states he must complete 2 semi-first-rank missions alone, one against monsters and one against evil spirits. Fermac clarifies that of the 4 available missions at the Guardian Association, 2 are for monsters and 2 are for evil spirits. With a grim expression, Corinne realizes he must capture one of each type, vexed by the timing of this difficult task. Surrounded by a menacing purple aura, Fermac issues a single, powerful command: choose. The scene shifts to a foggy forest, where Corinne walks with an instructor named Heyman, who reminisces about hunting monsters in his youth. Heyman beams, eager to share heroic tales from his past, triggering a notification that listening will greatly please him. A vision of the target appears. A monstrous, 2-headed ogre flanked by a pack of shadowy, sharp-toothed hounds. Hammond explains the ogre's rank is low because it isn't fully grown and that it commands a pack of hounds. Corinne sweats but firmly agrees that a frontal assault is out of the question. Heyman declares that true guardians require more than strength and that he will be evaluating every aspect of Corinne's performance. The vast, misty mountain range is revealed as the location of the twin-headed ogre's cave. Hammond clarifies that neither he nor the backup staff will intervene unless the situation becomes truly life-threatening. Turning to Corinne, Heyman formally asks him to present the results of his analysis of the area. Corinne reports that the footprints confirm the ogre is cohabitating with 3 long hounds. Kneeling, Corinne points out drag marks, concluding a hunted beast wasn't eaten on sight but was carried away. Corinne deduces they were feeding an injured pack member, a conclusion that leaves Heyman and his companions impressed. Heyman formally asks Corinne how he plans to hunt the semi-first-rank ogre and its 3 third-rank hounds. Corinne states he will use humanity's greatest weapon against the beast's instincts, leaving Hammond puzzled. Corinne's eyes glow red as a fiery aura erupts around him, his resolve hardening. The scene transitions to a mysterious, fog-shrouded castle under a dark night sky. Sinister, dragon-like spirits with glowing purple eyes writhe in the darkness. A massive barefoot stomps the ground, as the narration reveals the forest's ruler is one of these beasts. The ogre is shown with its pack of long hounds, masters of their forest kingdom. Woof woof! The hounds suddenly begin barking, having sensed an intruder. They discover their nest is empty, realizing one of their own has been taken. Woof, woof, woof. The hounds bark in a rising panic. Woof. The 2 male hounds pick up a scent and give chase. A close-up reveals the piercing yellow eyes of one of the monstrous hounds. The massive ogre stands over its 2 hounds, listening to their frantic barks. Woof, woof. The 2 male hounds are described as contorted with rage. Woof. The pack furiously follows the scent of the abducted female and the intruder who took her. A hound sprints through the forest, determined to make the intruder pay for disturbing the rulers of the forest. Whine. The tracking is complete as the hounds find the female, tied but safe. Woof, woof! The males rush to their mate, checking on her with relieved nuzzles. As they attempt to help her, a rope trap suddenly cinches tight around her legs. A cage of sharpened wooden stakes erupts from the ground, trapping the surprised hounds. The hounds look around in confusion, realizing they've walked into a trap. Woof! One of the stakes lunges forward, striking one of the hounds with brutal force. The stake impales the hound, shattering on impact in a bloody explosion. The broken remnants of the wooden stakes lie scattered after the fatal blow, The remaining male hound finds itself completely surrounded by stakes rising from the earth. It roars in defiance, realizing it is no longer the hunter but the hunted. The last hound frantically weaves through a deadly barrage of erupting wooden stakes. It spots a treeless clearing ahead, a patch of land it mistakes for a safe haven. Huff, huff! The final hound stumbles into the clearing, panting from exhaustion and fear. The last hound pants in fear, sweating as it realizes the gravity of its situation. It stands upon a field of magically inscribed stones, unknowingly springing the final trap. Boom! A massive fiery explosion erupts from the ground, consuming the clearing. Silhouetted against the blaze, the twin-headed ogre turns toward the sound of the blast. The ogre watches in horror as the fiery silhouette of its last hound is consumed by the inferno. Gritting its teeth in rage, the ogre registers the loss of its loyal subordinates. Yeah! Both heads let out a unified, earth-shaking roar of pure, unadulterated fury. Ting. The sound of a snapping trap echoes as the ogre's sheer power begins to overwhelm the restraints. Unharmed, the ogre stands defiantly in the center of the fiery blast, having absorbed the impact. The tyrant effortlessly powers through the explosion, proving that a mere touch trap could never harm it. The twin-headed beast, truly the ruler of the forest, glares with murderous intent. A new hunt begins as Corin's silhouette appears, spear in hand, amidst the burning forest. A moment of peace in the woods belies the coming conflict with its ruler, the twin-headed ogre. The ogre's two heads work in perfect unison, one with keen sight and the other with a sharp nose, united to avenge their pack. Despite its heightened senses, the ogre finds itself unable to locate its elusive prey. Frustrated, the beast follows the deliberate traces left behind, never catching sight of its tormentor. A new trap is sprung as a glowing blue rune, Hagalars, activates nearby. The ogre looks up in surprise as a storm of magical ice crystals materializes above its head. Yeah! The beast roars as it's relentlessly pelted by a series of magical sabotages. The assault escalates as rocks on fire begin to rain down, forcing the beast to move. Worn down, the ogre wanders aimlessly, following ambiguous tracks left by an enemy who refuses to be seen. The ogre's scarred and exhausted legs show the toll of the relentless chase. Sweating with anxiety, the beast finally understands the terrifying truth. It is being hunted. Yawn. Corin casually reveals himself, deciding to end the exhaustive hunt he orchestrated. Consumed by a burning red aura, the twin-headed ogre roars at the sight of its tormentor. Yeah, the enraged beast charges, determined to crush the small figure before it. Corin leaps forward, fearlessly meeting the monstrous ogre's attack head-on. He unleashes a powerful, sweeping arc with his spear, trailing red and black energy. A fresh, glowing blue gash appears on the ogre's back, the first clean hit of the fight. The ogre swings its massive birch club, intending to send its small opponent flying. Corin calmly prepares his counter, channeling power into his pagoda tree mountain intent technique. A declaration flashes across the screen. 2 hits are unnecessary for this fight. Corin launches into a spinning assault, unleashing his powerful macro hit. The glowing spearhead slams directly into both of the ogre's heads with devastating force. The immense power of the blow radiates outward in a blinding flash of light. Kua. The ogre's 2 heads reel back in stunned agony, their eyes crossed out in pain. Kua. As the monster roars, Corin lands gracefully on its back, preparing his next move. Corin channels a new power, preparing to strike with the primordial chaos palm. He strikes the ogre's spine, sending a devastating shockwave of purple energy through its body. The beast's face is contorted in a silent scream of overwhelming pain. The colossal ogre is thrown from its feet, crashing heavily to the ground, defeated. Corin lowers his spear, noting he charged his aura core for nothing. Yawn! He seems utterly bored, having not even needed his full power to win. With the mission complete, Corin's thoughts immediately turn to someone named Mariette, wondering if she is okay. How much do you trust me? In a flashback, a girl named Mariette tells Corin she trusts him implicitly, to which he dryly notes her example is possible. At his question, Mariette erupts in a blushing, bloody-nosed mess, comically misinterpreting his intentions. She flails about, vowing to go until the end before panicking. As Corin calmly states, he has a plan that requires Mariette's help. Splattered in her own blood, a confused Mariette looks up and simply says his name, Corin. Through a window, a voice questions the plan, asking why Mariette is involved. A bundle of blood-stained clothes is hastily discarded into a wicker basket. While showering, Mariette is described as a veteran guardian and special vampire, yet still a girl at heart. In the bath, she worries that the current trouble is much larger than she initially expected. Mariette continues to wash herself, lost in thought under the running water. She wonders how much Corinne knows, but decides to trust her one-sided crush on him. The scene shifts to the imposing research building located at the Academy's west end. A voice from behind door B306 exclaims, "Wow, what an awesome wild boar!" A woman with a witch's hat and Professor Fermac observe a massive, crystalline boar bound in magical chains, a special monster that can only be sealed. A woman named Dana questions Professor Fermac's research, and he explains his thesis is on the unique alpha energy of special demon tribes. Dana asks if she simply needs to engrave a rune on the creature, and Fermac confirms it, much to her relief, since rune mages are rare. Fermac laments that dead languages are a dying art and are difficult to use effectively in combat. Demonstrating his power, he adds that only a knight like himself with immense mana can truly utilize them. Fermac turns to a newcomer and asks who she is, expressing surprise that a special vampire would volunteer for his experiment. Mariette quickly reassures him that being called a special vampire is fine. She smiles slyly, admitting the label isn't wrong, as narration identifies her as Mariette Dunelef, the boss of the first act. This meeting brings together the story's first boss, Mariette, and its second, the monstrous king of the iron mine. The scene changes to a haunted house, described as a simple mission from the original game. The mission's objective is revealed. Navigate a haunted house and destroy a first-rank evil spirit by finding a hidden magic circle. This Geist phenomenon is shown as a screaming figure with glowing red eyes, a spirit possessing a building. Corin stands before the eerie house, now overgrown with dark, thorny roots, and prepares for what's next. In his mind, he visualizes the first step of the strategy: jump and strike the stalk to sever its connection to the root. Next, he imagines thrusting his spear forward to shatter a terrace window, sending shards of glass flying. He then pictures himself sliding under the glass shards to dodge them before heading straight for the door. In a chibi-style visualization, he leaps up a treacherous staircase, destroying obstacles while being warned not to step on the central carpet. Crack. A man with 3D glasses excitedly and rapidly details an incredibly complex series of maneuvers to Corinne and Mariette's holographic forms. His breathless explanation culminates with the activation of all engraved runes, as he triumphantly yells, "Fire!" Standing amidst a roaring inferno, Corin coolly states that the fire will now burn on its own. He smirks, declaring that real men don't look back at explosions, and that completing the task in 30 seconds is easy. Heyman and his team are stunned, wondering how Corin cleared a magic cave that baffled 2 second-rank mages, realizing he used a famous streamer's strategy. Heyman rushes forward, grabs Corin, and heartily congratulates him on his success. Beaming with pride, Heyman confirms Corin's semi-first-rank status and invites him for a celebratory meal in the nearby port city of Sar. Corin's expression darkens. He knows Sar is not only a raw fish town, but also the location of that. When Heyman asks if he likes raw fish, Corin eagerly agrees, and the two walk off arm in arm. A close-up reveals the sharp, calculating look in Corin's eyes as his plan unfolds. A demonic red creature watches from the shadows, as Corin internally notes that Heyman is following his lead perfectly. I killed an Academy player. The story shifts to a vast, frozen mountain range, a cold land rich with resources, known as the Iron Mountain. Two miners stare up in utter disbelief and terror at what they have discovered. The creature that devoured everything is revealed, the monstrous demonic pig of the Dingle Peninsula. The miners are frozen in fear before the first ever sighting of the colossal crystalline beast. A girl rushes through a hallway, panicked about sleeping in and questioning if she heard the meeting location correctly. She sprints with determination, reminding herself that she can't be late for what Corin has asked of her. She arrives and calls out for Senior Mariette, finding her stirring a potion, who jumps in surprise and identifies the newcomer as Junior Arden. Arden apologizes for interrupting, but Mariette flusters, insisting her experiment is nothing important. When Arden asks why she was summoned, a red creature named Deokagu growls, prompting Mariette to explain that Corin requested her help. Arden blushes upon hearing that Corin was the one who asked for her. Mariette offers Arden what she calls an elixir, which Arden eyes with suspicion. Deciding it must be good for her, Arden chugs the drink while Mariette tries to warn her about its safety. Ugarden suddenly collapses, as a stunned Mariette asks, "What's wrong?" A brown-haired girl's eyes sparkle as she tastes a dish, exclaiming that it's delicious and reminds her of home. A girl with light blue hair happily checks her notes, confirming the food's taste, safety, and toxicity are all good. In a classroom, she asks the brown-haired girl what Corin wanted explained. The brown-haired girl relays Corin's request to explain what is about to happen, leaving her friend anxious. She pushes her way through a dense crowd, apologizing as she rushes forward. She races through the city, heading for the testing facilities to meet the demonic Pig King as Corin instructed. Down in the fourth basement of the testing facilities, a voice asks Mariette what distinguishes special demons from monsters. Mariette suggests it's their strength, but a professor corrects her, stating their true power lies in domination. A man with sunglasses questions the power of domination as the professor confirms it, and he notes Mariette's name. The professor explains that some demons, known as alpha entities, emit a unique energy that sets them apart. Smirking, she elaborates that these alpha entities are stronger and can command their kin. The professor clarifies that an alpha entity's domination only works on its own kind, not on different demon species. She turns to Mariette, revealing that for special demons, this power of domination works. The professor asks Mariette about her own experience with this power, prompting a thoughtful look from the student. A flashback reveals a crazed Mariette at the hunting ground, using her power to control monsters and make them offer their blood. Mariette clarifies to the professor that she didn't dominate their minds, but rather used their fear to control them. The professor explains the three types of demons: monsters, evil spirits, and demi-humans, and how alpha traits affect them differently. Mariette wonders if she can command other demi-humans, but the professor explains their higher intellect makes direct domination difficult. Concluding the lecture, the professor calls for the experiment to begin and orders the Fangbors to be brought in. Attendants in lab coats wheel in several large, covered cages containing the test subjects. The professor declares the experiment's goal: to test the limits of a special monster's alpha traits. Mariette watches with a determined expression, preparing for the test ahead. Mariette suddenly asks the professor if the elixir turned out delicious. The professor, flustered, confirms it did, much to Mariette's relief. The professor instructs Mariette to dominate the growling Fangbors, and she nervously agrees. A figure's red eye glows with power as he commands something to come out. A ferocious Fangbor with glowing red eyes appears, ready for battle. A horde of enraged Fangbors bursts forth, overwhelming the facility's staff. A girl with white hair calmly faces the charging beasts, unfazed by their aggression. She raises her hand, preparing to assert her authority over the rampaging monsters. With a single command to lie down, she instantly pacifies the entire pack of Fangbors. Mariette panics, wondering why they won't obey her, as the professor explains that lower-ranked monsters can't understand her commands. The professor decides to escalate the experiment, asking Professor Fermac to release the king's seal. Using a rune of banishment, Fermac begins to break the seal on a massive, captive creature. Releasing only the first seal, Fermac unleashes a beast that erupts with a powerful gra. Gra. The massive king beast, crackling with energy, looms menacingly over the now subdued Fangbors. The professor shouts orders to reinforce the remaining seals as multiple resistance circles activate. GR. The beast's single red eye glares with fury as it strains against its bonds. Grrr. It continues to struggle, its immense power threatening to break the remaining seals. The beast breaks free and charges, forcing the professor to yell, "Stop!" as she and Mariette retreat. HMPH. Mariette swiftly dispatches one of the smaller creatures with a blast of ice. Mariette notes they're losing control but remains confident she can handle the situation. Bang! A sudden, massive explosion rocks the facility from another location. An emergency alert blares, announcing that the monster in cage A107 has escaped. The professor and Mariette react with sheer terror, realizing the gravity of the situation. The massive, scaled tail of an unknown creature slithers into view. A terrifying manticore appears, shocking everyone as they recognize the legendary beast. The brown-haired girl summons a powerful magic circle and unleashes her blood spear technique. Her crimson spears rain down, targeting the escaped manticore. The manticore is incredibly fast, easily evading the attack as she leaps into the air. Tesk, the white-haired girl, narrows her eyes, telling someone named Deoku to conserve his strength. A ferocious beast roars, its face split between dark purple shadow and brilliant white light. Ak, the man with sunglasses, unleashes a southpaw screw demolition, striking a serpentine monster with violet energy. His fist glows with power as he focuses intently on his target. His left straight punch slams into the ground, creating a powerful purple shockwave. He stands in the aftermath, addressing Professor Dana and observing that something feels strange. Queek! Elsewhere, monstrous shrieks and hisses echo through a darkened facility. A professor warns a woman in a large hat that monsters are escaping and she must leave, while ordering staff to activate sealing magic and reveal the King of the Iron Mountain. The woman grits her teeth, filled with resolve as she declares, "I can do this." Damn it! Two attendants panic as one reports that Group 2's magic circles aren't working, and the other realizes the sealing circle has failed too. The woman in the hat whirls around in shock, realizing someone has destroyed the sealing circles. The golden chains of the sealing spell crack and shatter into pieces. She gasps in utter horror at the catastrophic failure. The King of the Iron Mountain, a massive beast with a glowing red eye, strains against its bindings. The scene shifts to the bustling port city Sar, where birds fly over the harbor. Locals outside a building comment on the refreshing day, suggesting it's perfect for a drink. A narrator explains he's enjoying a feast at a raw fish restaurant, brought by old man Heyman to celebrate his semi-first-rank promotion. Korenlock suggests ordering soju, but Heyman reminds him that he's a student while he is an instructor. Introducing himself as Korenlock, a third-year minor, he laments how thorough pubs are with checking IDs. He despairs over his inability to drink, floating in an imaginary void of fried chicken and beer. Korenlock mentions an old Eastern saying to the instructor, who listens curiously. He slyly asks the instructor to be his life teacher and educate him on the ways of alcohol. The instructor's touched, believing Korenlock genuinely desires a meaningful conversation and not just a drink. As the instructor pours a drink, Korenlock inwardly celebrates, thinking, he fell for it. His celebration is cut short as a strange sound catches his attention. He begins to tremble, wondering why this is happening at this very moment. Bark, a demonic red creature, appears behind him as he curses his ruined first drink in years. Back at the facility, the golden sealing chains continue to break apart. The King of the Iron Mountain roars, having finally freed himself from his restraints. The professor urgently tells Mariette they must block the beast, and she readies herself. Mariette summons a massive crystal lance, gathering immense magical energy. The energy of the spell crackles as it fully forms. The gigantic ice spear takes its final, devastating shape. With a powerful thrust of her staff, she launches the crystal lance at the beast. Her eyes widen in shock as she witnesses the immediate result of her spell. To her disbelief, the powerful crystal lance shatters on impact. Mariette stares in stunned silence, sweat beading on her face. The professor reassures her that she did a good job, declaring he will finish it. He charges forward, his own purple energy surging around his fists. As he closes in, he realizes with surprise that he can't feel anything from the creature. He finds himself facing a different monster, a colossal, red-eyed boar. The beast's tusk glows with golden light, revealing the runes Thurasaz Fehu. He narrows his eyes, recognizing the markings as a rune. The boar unleashes a blindingly powerful attack directly at him. A student cries out for the professor as he's blown away by the massive explosion. No! The woman in the hat screams that the wall was destroyed, disabling the barrier system. From within a darkened cage, a clawed hand bends the thick metal bars. Hordes of red-eyed monsters begin to break out of their containment units. A system-wide alert activates Code Veronica, ordering all workers to evacuate and security to engage. The order is given to mobilize the spirit golems, and a squad of mechs powers up. The golem team opens fire, determined to prevent the monsters from escaping the facility. A robotic creature lets out a high-pitched electronic shriek. Squeal! It's violently slammed by a shadowy blue beast. The attacker is revealed to be a first-rank demonic beast, the poisonous dragon. Another first-rank demonic beast, King Harrant, joins the fray against the robotic figures. An overwhelming horde of monsters shrieks as an off-screen voice calls for support, unable to hold them back. Watching from a control room, A witch panics about the monsters breaching the academy grounds, worriedly asking about their budget. A brilliant flash of golden lightning erupts. The golden energy intensifies, illuminating the scene. A massive horned beast wreathed in lightning lets out a powerful roar. The witch screams in terror as the beast lunges directly at her. Suddenly, a blast of purple energy intercepts the attack, surprising her. Spattered with blood but unharmed, the witch looks up in utter confusion. A young man with silver hair appears, wielding glowing swords. The witch asks what Dron is doing there, and he coolly replies, "It's a field trip." Dron summons several elemental blades with a single command, "Come." His summoned swords elegantly slice through the horde of shadowy monsters. A fiery beast is struck by one of the blades. Grr. The beast growls in pain from the attack. Roaring in fury, the beast unleashes a massive fire breath attack. The blast sends Dron flying backwards, his expression one of shock. Nearby, chunks of rock begin to crackle with green magical energy. A voice calls out, "Golem formation," as the rocks assemble into a solid form. A newly formed junk golem smashes into a monster amidst a fiery explosion. A boy wearing goggles cheers excitedly, exclaiming that the techniques he learned actually worked. In a flashback, he recalls Corin forcing him to train his stamina before teaching him golem magic. The junk golem struggles against the first-rank monster's power, getting pushed back as the boy in goggles watches in dismay. Green energy suddenly surges through the junk golem's body. With root supplementation, the golem is reinforced with wood, transforming into a junk wooden golem. A girl with green hair wonders how he knew this would happen and taught her this specific method. The witch panics again as the poisonous dragon begins moving to the third floor. A girl with a dark ponytail leaps into action, slicing at the dragon's massive form. Her powerful strike results in a huge explosion of energy, and she wonders if they managed to defeat it. The witch sighs in relief, thankful for the students who seem to be at least second-rank knights or mages. Her relief turns to bewilderment as she questions why they are all at the testing facilities. A field trip? Meanwhile, Corin sits at a table, with narration stating his own plan was going splendidly. A massive, boar-like beast with glowing red eyes shatters a crystalline barrier. As a new red barrier forms, a voice states that, thanks to Corin's plan, the beast won't be able to reach the ground. The monstrous boar easily smashes through a second icy barrier. It looms over a tiny figure below, radiating immense power. 3 nearby students stare in absolute shock and terror at the creature's appearance. A girl with pink hair readies her staff, warning someone not to let their guard down, as she too is a special. King Heron lets out a mighty roar, appearing more like a movie monster than a simple beast. As King Heron's movements cause destruction, a student frantically yells for someone to do something. The boy in goggles urges a druid named Uel for more support, nervously asking if she really wants him to move the golem. The golem's joints are assembled, combining the magic techniques of Corin Locke and the mana of druid Uel. Grak, the newly empowered golem, throws a powerful glowing green punch. Ka, the junk wooden golem, lands a direct hit on King Heron's jaw. The boy in goggles consults his plans, telling Uel to replenish the fist's skin while explaining they will detonate 5 spirit bombs at once. The golem lands another punch on King Heron as the system checks its balance control. The golem crackles violently with unstable green energy, preparing to unleash its power. A system announces 5 spirit bombs are armed for a forced explosion, confirming all systems green and control granted. A goggled youth with spiky hair roars, "Go," while a green-haired girl beside him looks on unenthusiastically. With a gloved hand, he forcefully smashes a large green crystal on a console. A blur of green energy signifies the rapid activation of his command. He cheers for the success of his Luden warrior, prompting the green-haired girl to dryly ask when he named it. The scene shifts far from the testing facilities to the coastal port city Sar. A church bell tolls as an unseen person calls out, "Hey, wait!" Corinlock, startled while painting the red demon, explains he has something urgent to do. Introducing himself as a dispatched academy student, Corinlock asks a nun if he can use a prayer room, and she readily agrees. He is led to a heavy wooden door marked with the Roman numeral for 3. Inside the dimly lit room, Corinlock sits before a cross, recalling a memory. He lifts the cross with a smirk, hoping someone will arrive soon due to the urgent situation. A burst of purple energy erupts from the desk as he notes the quick response he expected. The energy coalesces into a glowing artifact as an unknown voice speaks his name, Locke. A shadowy figure with cat-like ears appears behind Locke, pressing the artifact to his neck and demanding to know how he has the marker. Unfazed, Locke calmly suggests they deal with more urgent matters first. A large, green mechanical warrior surges with power, blurring into motion. The goggled youth triumphantly cheers for his creation as his companion questions its new name. The brown-haired girl from the Manticore fight stares in shock, admitting she's never seen anything like the warrior before. Distracted, she turns to face a massive, shrieking poisonous dragon, realizing her mistake and looking away. Identifying the first-rank demonic beast, she resolves to confront the poisonous dragon alone. A girl with blue hair and a yellow flower appears, urgently forbidding her from using a certain power. The brown-haired girl attacks the dragon, seemingly with a domain severance technique that fails to manifest. Lying defeated, she questions her own ability, hoping Corin's belief in her potential was justified. Startled by an unfamiliar sound, she looks up with a worried expression. A mysterious pool of red liquid begins to bubble and churn ominously. Cracks of crimson energy spread rapidly from the bubbling source. A girl with long white hair appears amidst a storm of red energy and banners, declaring the arrival of the realm.